They're coming to get you, Barbara.
When there's no more room in hell.
And we are live, hopefully live and everything working. What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday night to you all. And Happy New Year to everybody out there. Yes, 2025 is over, 2026 is here. It's a big year for good reasons, bad reasons, a lot of bad news, and a lot of shit went down in 2025. Let's hope 2026 is a little better. So, um, as Larry said the other day, it can't really get too much worse, but we shall see. We shall see. Let's look on the bright side of things. But how's everybody doing out there? I hope everybody had a good New Year's, safe New Year's. Didn't party too hard, didn't get too drunk. I fucked around and had another kid since the last time I was on a stream. So, hey, you never know when these things might happen. But yes, we had a new addition to the family. My daughter, Claire, was born on the 30th, 7:35 a.m. here local on December 30th. And she is the chillest, like most laid back. Like she's the exact opposite of what Everly was when she was born. Like when Everly was born, she didn't want to lay down, didn't want to sleep. Like she's a wild child. And she still is my wild child to this day. But Claire's been super cool. So she may pop in for a cameo here eventually as time goes on. But happy, healthy, and everything's good over here in beautiful Evansville, Indiana. But yeah, had a good Christmas. Lot to celebrate. I'm a champion. I'm a world champion in fantasy football league that I'm in with my boy Grande. First time champion. So go me. But yeah. So yeah, it's been a little bit since did a live stream. Last live stream, of course, was the Romero trivia night, which was a ton of fun. I got all the prizes out there. Hope everybody's gotten them. I think Larry messaged me the other day and said that he got his. So fantastic. But yes, the prizes are in the mail, and they should be getting there sooner than later, hopefully. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was one of the most fun streams I think I've ever done. I love doing games like that. I love coming up with questions, concepts, and I try to walk that line there where I'm just like not too obscure and too like out in the woods to where people are just like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like what? Like who the hell would know this stuff? But at the same time, I know there's some really smart fucking people in this chat, and at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm taking it as a challenge to try to stump some of these guys because like I've said before, guys, if you're hanging out with me Saturday night, Sunday night, 2 or 3 hours talking about Romero, talking about horror, talking about films, you're the diehard of diehard fans. So yeah. So I had to come up with some good ones, but you guys did fantastic as always. But yeah, ton of fun on that one. Was just on a stream on Friday night over on the Revival House podcast channel on YouTube. Love coming on with those guys and just chatting. We talked. It was like another 3-hour stream where it was basically just a bullshit session, and I just had a ton of fun with those guys. If you guys haven't checked that out, it was a really fun conversation. We talked music, movies, Living Dead weekend. We went on a really long conversation about Living Dead weekend because it's going to be their first trip to Pittsburgh for Living Dead weekend this year, which we're definitely going to talk about. They kind of dropped that news over the past week or so, officially declaring that this will be the last Dawn of the Dead reunion at the Monroeville Mall. I saw Larry comment here just a moment ago talking about it will not be the last Living Dead weekend because as we've said before, we talked about before. I know Kevin, even after the mall closes and all that, whatever goes on there goes on. There will still be some event that goes on in Pittsburgh. Thank God, because it's as I was telling those guys on the show the other night. Living Dead weekends, it's such a great convention. I wouldn't even call it a convention. It's just a reunion. It really is. It's just like the one time a year that me and all my friends from around the world, literally all around the world, all over America, convene, get together for a couple of days of just being kids and playing at Disneyland type of thing. So I'm glad to know that there's still going to be stuff going forward. But in terms of like the event as we know it at the Monroeville Mall, and the final gathering of a lot of these people, this Dawn of the Dead reunion. It's gonna be I don't know, just a really heartbreaking, but also fun time, I guess. I don't know what I'm expecting, but we'll definitely talk about it. We'll get into it here in just a little bit. I got quite a few topics to talk about, and I want to touch on, kind of just take a look back at 2025 and everything that went down, and look forward to 2026. What is there to look forward to? There's quite a bit to look forward to, honestly, if you're a Romero fan, and for 2026. So we'll touch on that. Do you want to talk about what the future of the channel holds going forward? What my kind of New Year's resolution or what my goals are for 2026, and kind of where I want to take the channel going forward, because I'm going on 3 years of doing this now. And I feel like over time it's kind of taken shape into what it's been, over the last year or so. But with everything, if you're not moving forward, you're not reaching for, new horizons, I guess, what are you doing? So do want to touch on what the future of the channel holds for 2026, what my goals are, what my plans are. And it's got some really fun, cool show ideas coming up, some really amazing guests that I got in the works. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot to touch on here. But again, first and foremost, what's up, everybody? Tonight is Ask Me Anything. Floor is open. Whatever you guys want to talk about, any question, doesn't matter what it is, Romero related, horror related, film related, music related, whatever. If you want to talk about, what you like to wear to bed, I don't care. Everything is of interest tonight. But I just wanted to come on and start the year off right, open the floor to you guys, and see how everybody's doing out there. Let me hit the comments here real quick. Got quite a few comments, quite a few people in here already. 10 minutes into the show. Very cool. My favorite comment so far, I don't know, this is going to be hard to beat, but Long Dong 6669. Ken and I like drinking alone. Well, don't we all, sir? Don't we all? I think once you get to a certain age, I think you're kind of cool just kicking back at home, putting something on TV, and having a drink or two by yourself. But I don't like the image there. Everybody knows I'm not the biggest fucking Justin Long fan. Maybe this is Justin Long. I don't know. Maybe Justin Long is catching on to what we're doing here, and I don't know. I'm still not a fan. We got TCCK Gaming. What's going on, man? Peter's face looks so smooth in that pic for some reason. Yeah, I use like an AI image upscaler thing on Canva, and sometimes it has that effect to where it like just completely sucks all the life out of the image. But it's either that or it's blurry and kind of grainy looking. I was like, well, whatever. People get the concept. It's it's Peter. But dude, I saw one of your TCCK did a video, like a homage. I guess there's a game. I'm old and I don't know much about that. I know TCCK is one of my younger viewers, visitors of the channel. I guess there's a game called like Roblox or something, I think is what it's called. I don't know. Like I said, I'm old. I don't game. I don't do any of that anymore. So I'm kind of out of the loop on that. But I guess you can kind of create your own environments. If I'm picking up on this correctly, if I'm wrong, please correct me in the chat. But I guess you can create your own environments and stuff. And he created kind of like an homage to Romero's films in this game, and it was pretty fucking cool. I was pretty stoked to see that. So go check that out over on his channel, TCCK Gaming. I think he just posted it just a couple days ago. It's pretty cool. Suzanne, what's going on? Suzanne Her, I remember it's been a while since you've been in the chat. Suzanne, how you doing? Just says, early question in case I crash out. Mama is tired. Oh, dude, daddy is tired. Newborn baby. Claire, the newborn, she's like a vampire. She sleeps soundly, quietly. She's you barely notice her during the day. And then nighttime rolls around and she's wide awake and like ready to party. So yeah, my sleep schedule's been all fucked up here recently. So I'm with you. I don't know if you can tell. I've kind of let the beard kind of go, and I'm just kind of hanging on for dear life at this point. But Suzanne says, "Are you going to the last Living Dead weekend at Monroeville Mall?" Yes, of course, I will be there. As Larry said, it's not going to be technically the last Living Dead weekend at Monroeville Mall. It'll be the last Dawn reunion, the biggest Dawn reunion at the Monroeville Mall. So yeah, I mean, I will definitely be there. Hope you can make it. I know you were there. I think I saw you had a comment here too. My brother and I might try to get back up there. We went to the museum and the Evans City Cemetery back in October, but we missed a lot due to time constraints. Yeah, I remember seeing you post something about that in the Living Dead Weekend chat, or the Facebook page. And yeah, definitely try to make it, because like I said, like going there is one thing, and seeing everything and experiencing Pittsburgh and Monroeville, Evans City, and everything. But when you're there and Live Dead Weekend, it's kind of like you're there with your own crew, your own people. You're all speaking the same language, type of thing. But yes, I will definitely be there, and if you see me, definitely come up and say hi. Definitely, that's one of my favorite things about Living Dead Weekend. Ever since I started doing this channel, and people kind of will recognize me every now and then. I love meeting, that's like I said, it's like my favorite part of doing a channel, or being some kind of being out there for people to see, I guess, is meeting other like-minded people. Because like I said, I was a kid in Kentucky that grew up loving this stuff, and nobody else got it. Like, I was alone. Like, I had friends that were into movies and friends that were into horror movies and stuff like that, but like meeting people that are like, hey, you like Romero, I like Romero, and you start talking to them and like, oh, you really do like Romero, so okay, you're my people. That's like the best part, is just meeting all these new people and making all these friends and stuff. So definitely stop me, say hi, we'll chat it up, and definitely look forward to me and your brother, and meeting the whole family. Matt, speaking of brothers that I've met at Living Dead Weekend that I wouldn't know what to do without these days. Matt, what's going on, man? Drone of the Dead, how you doing, man? You got this killer. Ted, I'm gonna have to get you on soon. I was thinking what shows I'm going to be doing coming up, and I think next weekend, if you guys are available and want to do it, another edition of the Romero Fan Roundtable, halfway to Living Dead Weekend edition. Because we are right smack dab in the middle, 6 months away from Living Dead Weekend. So yeah, I'm gonna need you to come on and show off that new tattoo you got. You got this fucking badass Fulci zombie tattoo on your calf, I believe. You're gonna have to come on and show that off, man. So make plans for that. But good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Larry, there's the man himself. Larry says June is not the last Living Dead Weekend at Monroeville Mall before it closes. It's the last Dawn reunion at the mall. That's right. There will be an October Living Dead Weekend and possibly a last special event at the mall before demolition. So there you go. Yeah, I'm all for like trying to do as much as you can at that mall while you can. I heard like I kept hearing rumbles over the holiday season from people like on the Facebook group, Living Dead Weekend Facebook group, and some of the other stuff, where they were talking about how busy the mall was over the holidays. A lot of traffic, a lot of people shopping for the holidays and stuff, and I love that. But it's also kind of like, it's bittersweet. It's like, because it is a mall. Like I've seen so many like real like dead malls, like legitimately dead malls, and Monroeville Mall is not like that. I mean, no, is it what it once was? Of course not. Like most malls aren't. And I think a lot of malls are just dependent on their location where they're at. Because the mall here in Evansville is thriving. Like anytime I go there, they're fine. Packed, storefronts all full, and Monroeville Mall. I mean, yeah, there's some empty storefronts, but it's still. I mean, last time I was there in October, about, I don't know, let's say 75% full, and people still there shopping, doing their thing. But so yeah, I mean, and I had this conversation the other night with the boys over on the Revival House, because they were talking about wanting to do some filming and try to do like a little mini doc or something like that, and talking to some of the fans and people associated with the event. And I was like, dude, I've been thinking about that too. Like I want to go and just enjoy the event and all that as usual, but there's still something in me that's like, there's some work to do here. Like there's something that I need to do while we still can. I don't know what that is, or something I can just help on. I don't know, but I want to. There's something I need to accomplish when I get back there. But anyway, yeah, we'll touch on. We'll get a little deeper into the event coming up and what all to expect as time goes on. Let's see. Paul, there's my boy Paul. What's going on, man? Back to work in the morning, just popping in to say hi, happy new year, and another congratulations on the newest addition to your family. Love you, man. Love you too, man. Thank you very much for that. Happy New Year's to you as well, man. I think you spent the holiday season in Colorado, I believe. Lucky man. Been to Colorado once. It was an amazing trip. Love Colorado. I'm late to get back out there at some point. But Yeah, I hope you're doing well, my man. We got Ed. What's going on, man? Ed Trader, Music and Entertainment. Sounds good to me. Very cool. I can never fucking tell. So, but good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Got some Happy New Year's and congratulations. Thanks a lot, guys. Zombie Historian, what's going on, man? Congratulations on the new edition. Thank you very much. Robert, what's going on, brother? Robert Harvitz II. Good to see you, my man. I saw you in the Revival House chat the other night. Always good to hear from you. Hope you're doing well. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Bonnie Bailey. What's going on, Bonnie? How are you? Good to see you as always. Happy New Year. Congratulations for the new baby. Thank you very much. Soaking in the congrats and congratulations. Well, I didn't do much. So I was just there to catch her when she came out, basically. And fiance Jade was the one that they had to cut open and were tugging and pulling, and they had the sheet there, and you hear is there a baby yet? What's going on here? And they're just like tugging and pulling, and she's just like, oh God, are they done yet? Are they done yet? I'm like, well, I don't know what they're doing. Just hang in there. And eventually the baby emerged and they sewed her back up and everything's intact, I think. So so shout out to her. Steven, what's going on, brother? Steven Ustrack Jr. is in the house. Howdy, campers. Howdy, Steven. Hope you're doing well, man. Hope you're having had a good holiday season. Thank you very much for that, my man. Nathan, what's going on, Nathan? Good to see you, my man. Hope you're doing well. Cooler, what's going on, man? Cooler J2Y. Cooler J2Y. I hate the names now, man. It's like I just want to call you by your fucking names. Well, what's going on, man? Happy New Year's to you. Todd, what's going on, man? Speaking of the man himself from Revival House Podcast, Riverman, what's going on, brother? It says Alpha is the top G. Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to meeting everyone in Pennsylvania, man. I'm excited for you. I know you're a huge fan, and it's like I told you, it's like, yeah, the mall and everything has changed a lot over the years, and so much has, gotten, updated, quote unquote updated, and over 50 years it's going to happen. But if you're a fan and you know this place, it's like when you're there, it's like like you're there. And yeah, that's always like a big excitement for me, is when somebody is visiting for the first time. Like I remember back in June when my buddy Brett and his family first got there, and it was just cool being around them. And the first thing he did was take Larry's tour, so he was seeing the mall. Seeing the mall thoroughly. It was his first experience, and I was like, that is a brilliant idea. That's like the perfect way to experience. Like when you first get there, just have Larry take you around, show you where everything's at, and you're like, oh yeah, this is it. This is the mall. This is where I'm supposed to be. But yeah, I hope you're doing well, man. Matt says, how many Iron Cities we crushing in June? As many as we can get, man. As many as we can get. Maybe not too many. I don't need another a repeat of the Red Robin parking lot incident from last June, but I will pace myself, and I'll try to keep up. I'll just say that I'll try to keep up. Yeah, it feels like forever since I've had an Iron City beer, honestly. Steven says, this is obviously payback for your Martin bias vampire. I think so, man. I think so. I'm gonna start calling her the Little Count, because I think, because I'm telling you, like, she's out. Like yesterday, we took her around everywhere, visiting family, and took her to a restaurant, and didn't budge. She was just like out, like. And then as soon as fucking 11 o'clock midnight rolls around, like I'm just sitting there, I'm feeding her. I think I was watching Road Games last night. I'm sitting there and like rocking her, feeding her, and after she's done, she's kind of out, eyes closed, asleep. I'm like, okay, baby's asleep. I'm just gonna rock her for a little bit, and I'm gonna try to lay her back down. Next thing I know, I look down and she's just like staring at me. It's just like wide-eyed, just like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? Hey. Couldn't get her back to sleep for shit last night. So yeah, I think she's got the curse. She's got the curse. The Nosferatu. I'm gonna call her baby Nosferatu, I think. All right, sweet. Yeah, let's do it, man. Next weekend. and anybody else that wants to come on, that's either planning on being Living Dead weekend or interested in, or just want to come on and just hang out and chat. Romero fan roundtable number 7, I think, next weekend. So book it. Let's do it. So there's your first show announcement. I got quite a few more here. So, Larry says, I know a lot of people want to go to filming locations when they come to the Living Dead weekend, but I advise to go to the locations before or after the show and not during it. There's so much to do there. Yeah. That's always the plan. Like the plan for like back in October when we took Grande to the Tales from the Dark Side locations way out. I mean, it's a bit of a drive, but trying to get up early enough to get there and get back right around noonish or so. Yeah, probably rather, and especially if you plan on taking, Larry's tour, or you're just like me and you just want to walk around the mall and just kind of take it all in. Yeah, definitely try to get up early and get out, because a lot of the locations, like Crazy's locations, Night of the Living Dead locations, a little bit of a drive out. So yeah, I would suggest like typically when I do something like that, I'll try to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, something like that, just so I have plenty of time to get out there, get a little breakfast, and kind of take it all in. So by the time we're done, we're back, back in Monroeville. It's right when the convention's opening back up. So yeah, good call on that. Let's see. Suzanne says, definitely say hi. I will probably make some things to gift people who I meet. I love gifts. So a lot of my collection here recently has just been gifts, like stuff that people have given me. Like my buddy Robert made the necklace with the little vial with the dirt from the Evans City Cemetery from the Blair grave. I got that hanging up over there next to my my Night of Living Dead poster and my stuff over there. Yeah, I love little stuff like that. Just little photos of me and the boys on the roof of 247, little stuff like that. I love collecting stuff like that and having that around and being surrounded by that. So yeah, make me a little something. I will happily accept. He said, it's been a while since I've been to a convention I didn't vend at. Oh, okay. You should vend. Get a vendor table. I think it'd be a good one to set up at, for sure. Because that's the thing. It's like we were talking about on Revival House the other night. A lot of conventions now, like some of the bigger conventions, like Horror Hound and Scarefest, and those are like the big ones close to me. I know there are quite a few all over the country, all over the world now. Like conventions are kind of a big thing. But the thing with those conventions are you get your big guests, your big A-list guests, your Robert Englunds and your Scream cast members and your whoever the big guests are, and they charge out the ass now for. So if you want to go and you want to meet somebody, you want to get a picture, you want to get the photo op, you want to get the autograph, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg, and I think that hurts a lot of the vendors, at those bigger events, because people only have so much money to spend. And I've heard that from certain people that have, had tables at some of these conventions. It's like, yeah, I'll make more money at the smaller conventions than I will at the bigger ones, because most people are spending all their money and all their time on autographs and photo ops at the bigger shows. Whereas, the smaller shows, it's like the guests are more reasonably priced. The photo ops are more reasonably priced. And everybody's kind of there for the same reason. It's not so much a show and tell of like, oh, look at me, I'm cosplaying or I'm acting, this way or that way. It's more about being there for the show, for the guests, to the relationships, and so people are more apt. Like that's a big thing for me. Is like I always make sure to visit every vendor's table, even if I don't buy anything. I want to at least get a card or something and talk about them on the on the channels here. For me, like my favorite part about going to a convention now is the vendors, for the most part, especially if it's something like that's not Living Dead weekend. If there's not guests at like a Living Dead weekend that I'm dying to meet, I'll mostly just go just to see what treasures I can find at from the local vendors. They're not local vendors, but you know what I mean. So yeah, dude, look into it. Yeah, man, absolutely, man. That was really cool. Like I came across it, and I was looking at it. I was like, that's actually pretty cool. Like I said, I don't know much about that world or the game or what it all entails, but I was just kind of going through. I was like, oh, I like the little attention to detail that you got running through that whole thing. So yeah, very cool, man. Um, John, what's going on, brother? John Villas has just got in. Congrats. A little sick. Chug some NyQuil, so don't expect much from me. Dude, I don't fuck with the NyQuil, man. I gave up on NyQuil years ago. I had a bad experience with NyQuil. Like I Dayquil, like if I'm sick, like I can just like Dayquil's fine for me, but NyQuil, last time I took NyQuil, I ended up like taking it, going to bed, and then waking up in the middle of the night, standing outside my apartment, and just like not really sure how I got there or why I was standing outside. And it kind of freaked me out. I was like, oh shit, I could have easily just like wandered into traffic or something. So yeah, I stay away from the NyQuil. So I don't blame you if you end up fucking just zonking out, man. But hopefully you get to feeling better, my man. Um, I've been battling. I think we've all been kind of battling illness here recently. It's just that time of year, I guess. Suzanne says sign up for the Leaps app. The Leaps app for newborns. It helps you keep track of growth and cognitive spurts. So you have a bit of a heads up and information for when a baby seems more restless. Interesting. Okay. Leaps app. I'm gonna write that down. That might be something that Jade might be interested. She's all about that kind of stuff. Leaps app. How many do you have, Suzanne? How many babies you have? Mama's tired. This is my second one. And it's funny because like the second one, I've noticed like when we first had Everly, it was like everything was like, oh man, we gotta keep an eye on her, make sure everything's okay. Like if we take a shower, we gotta take her in there with us. The second one, it's just like, she's fine. Like she's asleep, she's fine. And nothing's gonna happen. So you're a little more relaxed with it. Steven says, "Don't diminish your contribution. You planted your seed in her womanly." That's true. That's what I tell her. If this kid becomes a serial killer, you get half the blame, or a biased Martin fan. That's right. That's right. Well, I often wonder that. Like when my daughter Everly started getting into, when she started coming upstairs and kind of discovering all the dad stuff, she started getting really into like Chucky and killer clowns from outer space, Evil Dead 2. She loves Evil Dead 2. Every time she comes up here and picks a movie, she goes straight for Evil Dead 2 for some reason. And when she started watching those with me, like, Jade was just kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that. It's like, what if she grows up to be some kind of like serial killer or something? I'm like, yeah, but what if she grows up to be the next, the female horror icon? She grows up to make she's the female George Romero or something one day. That's the way I look at it. But Jay's just like, I don't know, man. Like a 3-year-old who's this into Chucky, something's off. But it was funny. We were up the other night with the baby at like 2 a.m. and of course Everly got up with her because she wanted to hold the baby and help put her back to sleep. And we were sitting there talking, and she was telling me about her nightmare. She had a nightmare night before. She was like, I had a scary dream, and I was like, wow, what happened? And she said, she was dreaming she was in the swimming pool, and a shark got her cousin, her cousin Sydney, got shark her cousin and came for her, but she got out just in time, and she woke up and she said she was so scared. It's like, yeah, I have scary dreams too. Like that's just normal, but they're just dreams. They're not gonna hurt you. She's like, yeah, I have scary dreams about sharks and dinosaurs, but not monsters because those are only in the movies. I was like, that's right. It's like you get it, okay. But yeah, I thought that was cute. It's like baby hour here at Alpha Romero. Susan says babies realize it when it's night when they don't want you to put them down at night or the dingoes will eat them. Oh, really? Is it that deep? It will pass, thankfully. I hope so. So far, so good. I haven't heard her screech so far from downstairs, so we'll see. Our theory is that she used, when during the day, when she's in the womb, she's kind of being moved around, shaken, and lulled to sleep all day. And then at night, when you go to bed, that's when she kind of wakes up and is ready to go. So she kind of has her nights and days mixed up right now. So maybe we'll try to get that straightened out. Riverman says it seems like the zombie genre is starting to make a comeback with We Bury the Dead and 28 Years Later 2 hitting theaters this month. Yeah, I mean, I honestly haven't heard anything about We Buried the Dead. The 28 Years Later sequel, I'm not honestly looking too forward to. Or I'm not looking forward to it at all, to be honest with you. I was trying to be kind there, but I love the original so much, man. 28 Days Later is like one of my all-time favorite movies. And, the sequel's fine. And then I saw 28 Years Later. I was just like, yeah, it's kind of run its course for me. I just don't know what else can people do with the zombie genre at this point? Like, I really, like you guys heard my review. I really enjoyed Queens of the Dead. I thought Tina Romero did an amazing job with that, honestly. Like, I wasn't expecting much. And then I came out just, mind blown. I was like, wow, I really, really like this. But the movie itself really didn't do much for the zombie genre, as it didn't do anything different or really add anything new to it. Um, and it's one of those things. It's like it's a genre that's been around for ages at this point, and everything that's been done kind of feels like it's already been kind of done. I don't know what else you could do. I think the only thing that I can think of is like maybe like a version of, I don't know how you would do it though. If you could do a zombie story from the perspective of the zombie, you know, um, but I don't know how exciting could that be? That sounds like a total A24 artsy fartsy art house movie. Um, the story of the zombie from their perspective and what they're thinking and why they're doing these things. So yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like zombies are always going to kind of be popular in some way, shape, or form, just because especially in the day and age we live now, where people are still, and I talked about this with Orion Trips on the stream we did about a month or so ago. Just people have this, I don't know, just interest or intrigue with the end of the world, and the idea of everything being upset, all the normalities that we go through in everyday reality just getting turned on its head. All the rules are being broken, even to the most basic rule of, like, when you die you come back. Just I don't know what else you can really do at this point. But like I said, I just think there will always be some intrigue to it. I'm look, I'm hoping that somebody will find something, a new story to tell, or a new way to tell the story without just completely, you know, shit in the bed. But I don't know. I have very little hope with that anymore these days with most movies, honestly. And we can talk about that too. Just 2025, just the complete lack of, like, I didn't see very much in 2025 just because there wasn't. It's like, compared to 2024, like, there was so much that came out in 2024, whether I liked it or not, that I was really looking forward to seeing and really wanting to, you know, really wanting to check out. I mean, I'd have to look at the list, but I mean, I feel like I went to the movies a lot in 2024. Nosferatu, Maxine. I felt like there was a lot to look forward to in 2024, and then 2025 just kind of came and went. And outside of maybe one or two films, I was just kind of like, there was nothing that really excited me or drew me in. It's like I said, I really liked Queens of the Dead. Didn't expect to like that one as much as I did, but I did. Ari Aster's Eddington was the one that we went to the theater to see, and I ended up really really liking that. I just like the way Ari Aster makes films. He does it his own way, and he just whether you're either gonna like it or you're not. I think most people kind of have this perception of him just from Hereditary and Midsommar, that he's a horror director, and when he makes a movie that isn't horror, it's like, oh, I don't like that. But it's he's just a filmmaker, and I enjoy the way he tells stories and the way he makes his films. But other than that, man, I didn't see a lot in 2025 that that really blew me away, or um, that I even really liked or really had the interest to check out. So, um, 2026, I mean, 28 years later, to the sequel to 28 years later, I forget what it's called, Bone Temple, I think. That's coming out, I think, fairly soon. Scream 7, if you're into that. Like, I'm kind of out on the Scream series at this point, unless they do something. But I've seen the trailer for it, and the trailer itself is just like, oh god, they're doing the the Halloween thing where Nev Campbell comes back, and it's her and her daughter are strapping up and going to chase down Ghostface or something. I don't know. I mean, it's like, what else can you do with that at this point? I did see one I did watch from 2025 that I was not a fan of, was David Cronenberg's newest film, The Shrouds, because that was playing on the Criterion channel, and I watched that. And I didn't do nothing for me, man. Like, And I hate to say that because I love David Cronenberg. Like some of my all-time favorite films, like I consider David Cronenberg one of my favorite filmmakers. Um, but there's just something about his most recent like 2 or 3 films that it just doesn't connect with me for some reason. Like there's some disconnect there. Like there's no humanity or something to it. It's like his characters are very, I don't know, just rigid and stale, and the stories just kind of not stale, but just very sanitized feeling. I don't know. There's just a vibe to his, like Crimes of the Future. I wasn't a big fan of. And this new one, The Shrouds, man, it was just kind of like, oh, what an interesting concept, but then it's just kind of like, yeah, but it doesn't really, it's not really doing anything for me. So that was one that I was pretty disappointed in. And I guess you could always kind of say like Cronenberg's characters and stuff were, his films are always kind of on the spectrum of like, oh, is this reality or is it kind of always kind of blurred the lines. But um, I don't know. I think probably the last great film that he did that I really, really enjoyed was History of Violence, which wasn't really a horror film, but it was a good film nonetheless. Now, to be fair, I have not seen Cosmopolis with the Twilight guy in it, Robert Pattinson. Haven't seen that yet. Um, what's the other one that Maps to the Stars? I haven't watched that one yet. But outside of that, yeah, that's but yeah, anything else coming out in 2026 that you guys are looking forward to that maybe I've missed out on, or because I'm really out there when it comes to movies. Like I've been watching a shit ton of movies over the past few weeks, just because it's that time of year. I've been in the mood. I haven't been working, 'cause having the baby, so I've been trying to catch up on so many movies, and yeah, it's just I rarely will watch anything older than like 1985 at this point. I don't know why. I'm always more attracted to that 70s era, 60s, 70s, early 80s era type of film. Susan said we missed the Red House from Dawn and the Creep Show house, and they were all they're all right there in Monroeville, like literally right there next to each other. The airport used to be there; it's no longer there. I don't know what the status of that is. Last time we were out there, I mean, they demolished the building and all that, but the land was still out there for the most part. But I know they're developing that. I guess they're putting some like apartments or something out there. So I don't know where that stands as of now, but last I heard, you can't really get back there. They got the road that led up to it pretty much blocked off. So, but yeah, Creepshow House, the Red Farmhouse, which is funny. The Red House from Dawn. I actually the Monroeville Mall tattoo that I got. The woman who did the girl who did the tattoo actually owns that house and lives there. So when we were talking about Dawn of the Dead, she's like, "Oh, funny enough, that house from Dawn of the Dead, I live there." And I'm just like, "Oh, wow, really?" She's like, "Yeah, people are always driving by and taking pictures of my house, and it's weird." So if you do go visit, I will say this for anybody that's planning on going: if you do go visit, be very respectful, be very incognito. Don't walk up into the yard. Don't take pictures inside the windows or anything like that, because she did say that people have done that before. And so just be very respectful about it. Keep a distance, and just remember that people are living there, and they're probably home wondering why this person's taking pictures of my house. Which I've thought about that before, and it would be kind of weird just to look out your window and somebody's out there like taking pictures of your house randomly, and you're like, oh, okay. PMC, what's going on, man? PMC's Midnight Movies. Did you ever get into Stranger Things? And if so, thoughts on the last season? Man, I got to, so the first like 2 or 3, I think it was the first 3 seasons, we really got into. I thought it was really well done. Like, loved the kid characters, loved the 80s vibe to it. Of course, there's that one, the one episode, and I think it's season 3, where they got the homage to Day of the Dead. They go to the movie theater, they're watching Day of the Dead stuff. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Love the intro theme too. That's one of my favorite intro themes. So I love the first couple of seasons, and I think after season 3, I just felt like the story had kind of run its course for me. I was like, that's a perfect way to end it. It's like, if these kids keep going, these kids are gonna be like grown adults, like, and it's gonna be like, I don't care about these people. And of course, they did continue with it. And I started season 4. I think season 4 was at the season that the metalhead guy that's always like or whatever, and that when he first showed up, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, all right, I'm kind of out on this. This is kind of becoming a little loony for me. So yeah, I didn't watch most of season 4. I haven't seen any of season 5, so I really can't speak on it. Um, I'm trying to think. I think I got those seasons right. Yeah, the first few seasons I was a big fan of. Yeah, we watched those religiously. But what do you think about it, PMC? Is it worth going back and giving another shot to? Because like I said, once I saw fucking dude, I was just like, oh god, this is a parody now, and I'm not here for it. Um, okay, 11 and 7. All right, so I got a 5-year-old, so she's catching up to you. She's catching up. Um, it says my friend has 8 kids, about a year apart each. Wow, last 3 are triplets. Okay, that makes more sense. It's like how do you get to 8 kids without having twins or triplets at some point? They sometimes forget which ones they fed some nights. I believe it, man. Like 2 now, I think 2 is good. I think 2 is the spot where because 3 you're gonna have the middle child syndrome and all that. So yeah, I think we're good at 2. But you never know. Um, I feel like two's a good number to stop. Um, Suzanne says, took my oldest to see Five Nights at Freddy's 2. It's been his gateway intro to horror. Very cool. I was actually thinking about taking Everly to go see that the other day because we had the day off and wasn't working. She was out of school and they had the matinee and I was like trying to find something for her to because I've tried taking her to the theater before and usually she gets kind of restless and it's just kind of like but if I take her to see something that I think she would probably draw her in a little better than, a Disney movie or something like that. Um, but yeah, we didn't. I haven't even seen the first one, so I'm not really too sure what it's about. But I saw a horror movie PG-13. I was like, yeah, maybe she'll dig that. Steven says, I'm not wishing this on you, Alpha. Oh, okay. Well, I'm prepared for whatever the hell you're about to say now. But I'll be curious if the new kid will be completely different. If she'll be a really girly girl or something else that's just different from how you are. Well, I thought about that too. I think because Everly's into but she's into girly stuff too. Like she got a Barbie house for Christmas and she's got her baby dolls and she likes to play makeup and all that stuff. But she is into some of the weirder stuff that Dad's into. But she's not really like she likes some of my music, but for the most part, she kind of has her specific bands or songs that she wants to listen to. Um, but sports, like she's not like football is she could care less. Like she's like, oh, Dad, you're watching football again? Why? So I'm thinking maybe Claire, the second one will be more the jock or something of the family. I don't know, but um, I need somebody to watch football with, David. But I don't care. Whatever they're into, I'm totally with. I know we tried to sign Everly up for soccer a couple of years ago, and she went like once and was just like, "No, this ain't for me." I was like, "It's fine. You don't got to." She's not a fan of organized activities, especially at that time. Um, Suzanne, I can't imagine being outnumbered. Are you talking about zombies or are you talking about me being completely outnumbered here with nothing but girls, 2 girl dogs, 2 girl children? I can't escape it. It's girl dad for life over here. Um, it says Quest for Fire style movie, but it's zombies. That's one way to do a zombie perspective film. Never seen Quest for Fire. But yeah, like I said, I'm totally into like one that I really liked was the Schwarzenegger zombie film Maggie, which you hear Schwarzenegger zombie film, you're thinking like Terminator, he's gonna just blasting through zombies or whatever. But I thought the story was like really interesting. It was a different way to tell a zombie story. It was a more serious take on the zombie genre, and I kind of appreciated that at the time because I mean, for the most part now, like to me, so like for example, like Night 90 Savini always talked about, he wanted to make zombies scary again because by the time he was doing Night 90, you'd had Thriller, and Return of the Living Dead, and zombie genre was kind of becoming somewhat comical. Even one of the trailers for Day of the Dead, with the the zombie sitting there, like eating the popcorn, zombies had kind of become comedic at that point. So he was with Night 90, he was trying to make zombies scary again. And I think he did a pretty good job with that. And now I feel like we're right back at that spot where like zombies are, comical again. Like it's like when you see a zombie movie now, they're mostly just like the goofy inconvenience. And Walking Dead kind of turned them into that after a while. They were just kind of like the inconvenience that just happened to pop up every now and then. There's nothing. There's no real. There's nothing to really connect them to the horror of the situation of being a corpse that's trapped in this cycle of like I have to walk around and eat. The same way that but you could say like the zombies in Dawn of the Dead are comical and in different ways, but there's still that essence of like their lost souls, like just trapped in this cycle. They don't know why they're here, and their humanity is still in there. So it makes I don't know, it makes them more relatable and more sympathetic. To where now zombies are just kind of like, and that, like I said, that was my big thing. My big negative about Queens of the Dead was they were kind of, just fodder for the most part. Like they were just comedic fodder, um, for the rest of the characters in the film. But I don't know. We'll see. Like every genre, they'll come back around with something. Some filmmaker somewhere will figure out a new and interesting way of doing it. So, we'll wait and see. We'll see what happens. Matt says Eddington was fantastic. Begonia was great as well. That's one that I've seen. I don't know much about, but I've seen good things about, and that's on my radar. Sinners is another one that came out in 2025 that I've heard good things about, but I haven't checked out yet. And I think I noticed that one or both of those are available on Amazon Prime right now. So, so that's definitely on the list to get to at some point. Todd says I watched Together 2025 last night. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, that's one I remember seeing the trailer for. I think when we went to see Nosferatu, I think. I thought that had an interesting concept to it, but I never really heard too much about it. It just kind of was one of those movies that just kind of came and went. So it's kind of one that's just kind of slipped the mind after a while. Steven says, just for you, Alpha, I watched Queens of the Dead. It wasn't horrible, but I believe you were a bigger fan than I was. I did love the If There's No More Room in Hell, there's an app for that. Yeah, there's a lot of callbacks. I mean, it's there's a lot of like homages and callbacks to George's stuff in there that I enjoyed. It just had that, I don't know, it just had that vibe, that feel of that I got when I was watching Shaun of the Dead for the first time. It was made by somebody, and of course Tina, I mean, literally learned how to walk on the set of Day of the Dead. So I mean, it's just kind of like, it makes total sense that all these homages and stuff would be in there. But yeah, like I said, I totally understandable. Some people are not going to be fans of it. It's not going to be what they're looking for in a zombie film. But I think for what my expectations were and for what it turned out to be, I was pleasantly surprised with it. So. Steven says the new Supergirl movie looks interesting, and of course I must try to live long enough to see the new Batman whenever it comes out. Yeah, I don't really care. I have no real interest in Supergirl, or any superhero movie to be honest at this point. Batman is like the one that I will check out, and I'm with you there. Because that's what I grew up with. I grew up with Tim Burton's Batman and Batman Forever, and of course when I got a little older, Christopher Nolan's Batman. Like those are the ones that I love the mythology to those, and I love, those films. But yeah, outside of that, man, I can almost guarantee you I will never watch Supergirl. So let me know how it is. I'll be interested to see what you think on it. Riverman says, I'm with you on David Cronenberg's new stuff. His son makes better movies now. I agree. They're more interesting, in my opinion. I really like Possessor. Wasn't the biggest fan of Infinity Pool, but I will say he's one of those filmmakers that anything he's got coming out, I'm interested. I'm going to check out. Like he's on that list now for me with like Ari Aster, Robert Eggers, those types. So yeah, I'm definitely kind of with you there on that one. It says Predator Badlands was the only 2025 film that I got into. The producer did say there have been a few talks with Arnold about him returning in a Predator film in the future. Do you really want that though, man? Like, Arnold at this point, like he's not Arnold anymore. You know, he's an old guy, and I really one of my least favorite or tropes that I hate in any movie when they bring back, you know, the legacy character or whatever. It's just like, oh, look how old they are now. Like that's their whole thing. It's like, oh, I'm old and, you know, not what I used to be. Like, yeah, it's kind of been done and I'm kind of over it. Like that was one of the big reasons why I wasn't the biggest fan of Ash versus the Evil Dead when that first came out. When I first saw that, like it was cool seeing Bruce Campbell again as Ash. But after a while, every joke was about how fat and old he got, and I'm just like, all right, I really don't want to hear. I really don't want it shoved in my face how all my heroes are now old and fat. Like, like I'm good. Like, um, so yeah, we'll see. I honestly, whatever. If they want to do it, go for it. I'm honestly not the biggest Predator fan, to be honest with you. I've never have been. Even the original, even the first Predator, I've always just kind of been lukewarm on that movie for some reason. It's like there's elements to it that I really like, but for the most part, it's not like a go-to favorite of mine. So whatever, do what you want. PMC says Bring Her Back and Keeper were two of my fave horror movies in 2025, both disturbing. Keeper wasn't that the I didn't see it, but that's the one that the Osgood Perkins did, if I'm correct. And Bring Her Back is another one that I heard a lot of good things about, but haven't seen yet. Again, guys, I haven't seen a shit ton of anything that came out in 2025. So, Suzanne says, "Where does the tattoo artist from the Dawn House work?" She actually works at the tattoo shop at the Monroeville Mall. So, so it works out perfect. She actually did me and Matt's tattoo when we were there in June. She on that Sunday she came. You know, I think they're typically closed on Sunday, but they specifically made the effort to be there to do our tattoos because we were in town for the event and stuff. So they're super cool. They do really great work. I have the card here somewhere if I can find it. I have just a stack, a shitload of papers and stuff here. I have the card here somewhere. The name of it, and the name of the artist. But if I were to find it, it would probably take for hell and ever. So, but it's the tattoo shop at the mall. And there's only one tattoo shop in Monroeville Mall, so you can't really miss it. Damn it, I have the card here somewhere. If y'all saw my desk, I would be just like, what the fuck? So many notes and cards and stuff everywhere. Anyway. Yeah, I can't find it. But it's at the tattoo shop at the Monroeville Mall. You can't miss it. Yeah, definitely do it. Definitely check them out. They do good work and really cool people. I don't know if she still works there or not, but there is a guy that works there that is a huge Romero fan that loves doing Romero related tattoos and stuff. So yeah, we had to do that. I you know, malls, you know, with the news of the mall and stuff and being there, it's like I have to get a Monroeville Mall tattoo at the Monroeville Mall if that's available. And my boy Matt hooked that up. So PMC says, or Riverman says, PMC, I still need to check out Keeper. Finally got around to watching Bring Her Back and enjoyed it. Okay, so there's 2 votes of confidence in Bring Her Back. Matt says Klexos tattoo right next to Barnes & Noble. There you go. Matt's already ahead of me. Steven says, if you want to check out a weird newer film, The Surfer, starring Nick Cage. Well, that's all you got to say. If you want weird newer film, Nick Cage. That's all you got to say. Fascinating mindfuck. I won't spoil it but for me, it kept me hanging in there to the end. Okay. Never heard of it, but like I said, Nick Cage, weird, goes hand in hand. So, PMC says that character you said was Looney in season 4 of Stranger Things, oddly enough, is a beloved fan favorite named Eddie. That's right, his name's Eddie. I did really enjoy all the seasons. Yeah, I mean, it's popular. I mean, yeah, people seem to dig it, but I don't know. I think it was just a combination of the two things. Like season 3 just felt like a final for me. Like I was just like, all right, that's, you know, where else does this need to go? Like I'm good here. Like, and then when season 4 rolled around and they started introducing these weird characters, I'm just like, all right, I'm kind of out on it. But yeah, I get that way with shows sometimes. Like sometimes a show just it ends for me. Like Walking Dead. I've only seen season 1 of Walking Dead just because I feel like that's enough. Like I don't need to see any more of this. Like I know it became a huge success and popular and all that, and I'm happy for Nicotero and all those guys. But after I saw the first season, I was just like, all right, that wraps it up for me. I think I'm good. So I've only seen the first season of Walking Dead. Um, Robert says just rewatch the Dead 2 by the Ford brothers. Yeah, my buddy Robert's a big fan of those ones. I remember seeing. I don't think I saw the second one, but I remember watching the first one and thought it was pretty good. A few of my favorite zombie movies. I hear they're making a third. Hope so. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember if I ever saw the second one, but I remember the first one. Thinking that was pretty well done. That was the one where they're kind of like out in the desert. I think that's kind of what I remember. It's been years. I've only seen it once, but I remember liking it when I did see it. Um, Thanks for the info, Matt. Absolutely. Steven says, I believe time also helps. If people stop making zombie films for a while, then someone does a good one, and all of a sudden, what's new is old again. Yeah. I think that's kind of the usual cycle of things. People will, eventually someone will find a new way of. It's like 20 Days Later. It's like when 20 Days Later came out, like nobody was doing zombie movies. The 90s was, you can name, the amount of zombie movies on one hand that came out in the 90s. Like the zombie genre was pretty much dead. And then, I guess Resident Evil, the games Resident Evil kind of brought it all back. And kind of brought the whole idea of the zombie genre and stuff back into the mainstream zeitgeist, I guess. But really, 28 Days Later is the film that came out, and then everybody saw that, and then everybody was like, "Oh, we got to do a movie like that." It's like the Dawn of the Dead remake. We got to have zombies like 28 Days Later, and all before you know it, like fast zombies are the new thing, and it kind of revitalized the genre, and all of a sudden you started getting George was working again and doing zombie films again, and it was so yeah, it'll come back around, man. There'll be something that'll spark that inspiration for the next generation of filmmakers to do their version of a zombie film. So, but time will tell. We will see. I don't think 28 years later was going to be that movie though. That didn't even really feel connected to the first two, in my opinion. Um, I don't know. It just felt like something different. It didn't have a zombie movie feel to me. Um, Suzanne, time to go. Good night, all. Good night, Suzanne. Good to see you in here. Good to hear from you. Hope you're doing well, and I'll hopefully see you in June. Look forward to that. Steven says if Arnold's able to do King Conan, that part actually requires him to be old. Well, that's true. Yeah. I love Arnold. I grew up on Arnold, man. Arnold was one of my heroes growing up. So if Arnold wants to do whatever, like, go for it. But I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm just kind of soured on the Hollywood and bringing these characters and these actors back just for like one last payoff, type of thing. And yeah, I don't know. Matt says Jenna and Erica did our tattoo. That's right. The dude that was the huge Romero fan left the shop before we. That's right. Yeah, he there was like a big blow up or something, and he had to. But I think they still had his stuff there because I remember seeing like some of his artwork and stuff in his area. So I think he still had his stuff there. But yeah, dude, I remember that. Okay, yeah, it's all coming back to me now. Dude, my memory's going to shit. But yeah, that's the guy we originally were going to get our tattoos through, and then he ended up quitting or getting fired or whatever happened there. And so then, yeah, Jenna and Erica stepped in and did a good job. So I was happy with it. All right, I think I'm caught up on all the comments here. Hour in, but hey, that's what we're here to do tonight. We're just here to bullshit and talk about what's to come. Let's see. Let me finish. Move on to the harder stuff. So Peter's not drinking alone. You know what I mean? Got a little bit of Johnny Walker Double Black here. All ready to go. Ooh, and cold. I like it cold. One thing I did want to touch on here, just looking back at 2025, and I want to acknowledge a lot of the members of the Romero family that we lost over the last year. And some big names, Anthony DeLeo from Day of the Dead, Night Riders, Ella Mae Smith from Night of the Living Dead, one of the more beloved of the the night zombies that would always be at the conventions and stuff. Um, Paul Macaluso, Dave James, um, Gary Hartman. I know we just found out just recently passed away, one of the bikers from Dawn of the Dead. So yeah, I mean, it was a rough year in that aspect as well. I mean, everybody loves, Ella Mae Smith. I mean, there's so many stories out there, and she's in so many of the Night of the Living Dead documentaries too. She was always kind of one of my favorite aspects of those documentaries is when she would talk. And I think there was that episode of Horror's Hollowed Grounds that Sean Clark did with Larry, where they're, walking around where they shot Night of the Living Dead. And of course, Ella Mae Smith's house was right there next to where the farmhouse used to be. And of course she sees him walking around and Larry's friendly with her. And she was always one of those people that, like, if you were out there, looking for Night of the Living Dead locations, if she saw you, she would come out and talk to you. And she sometimes bring you in and, show you pictures and stuff that she'd collected from over the years. She was so proud of her time and experience working on Night of the Living Dead. It was really heartbreaking. And I was hoping that she was okay, but we always kind of got that vibe, or I did at least, that maybe she wasn't in the best of health, because I know they were doing that Night of the Living Dead reunion, a Living Dead weekend, back in June, where they had everybody together. And I was just waiting for Ella Mae to get announced. But then before the event, we found out that she had passed away. And so yeah, that was a pretty rough one. Of course, Anthony DeLeo, huge Day of the Dead, Night Riders. I mean, he was a stage actor before that in Pittsburgh. And by all accounts, anybody that met him or had talked to him, just a super nice guy. I remember I met him one time. I've met him once. I think it was 2021, maybe. All the way back 21, 22, somewhere around there. We had Living Dead weekend. It was the one only time I've met him, but he's super nice guy. Signed my Making of Day of the Dead book, and but you could kind of tell he wasn't in the best of health. And that, it goes. We're all getting older, and time's gone by. And of course, Living Dead weekend coming up in June. It's the last time. Honestly, the last time we're probably going to see a lot of these Dawn guests. Cast and crew members that worked on Dawn. So, by all means, get out, meet them, say hi, shake their hand, because they're all cool and they're all there. Most of them are not actors, or, there's no pretentiousness to them whatsoever. They're just there to have fun and relive, something they did, 50 years ago and had a great time doing. But yeah, by all accounts, Anthony was a lovely guy. I know he was really close with Lori Cardill, and it's funny to me, like, all those Day of the Dead cast members really stayed close over the years. Lori and Tim DeLeo and Joe Pilato and Gary Clark and Terry Alexander, Charles Conroy, all that cast seems to really have stuck together. And I'm sure it's from over the years of doing conventions and stuff like that, and always kind of being around each other. So it was able to kind of keep up with one another. But I always found that fascinating. They always seemed to kind of stick together, and they were all very very close. I know Lori was real close with Gary Clark, and Joe Pilato. Like, they were all always kind of a troop. You'd see them at conventions and stuff. You could always kind of tell at conventions, like, who's still friendly with who has heat with who, and they were always, it was like, you would see Pilato at his table and he would quote the movie to Gary Clark, and Clark would quote it back, or, Lori would quote it, or there was always some kind of interplay going on with those guys. So I always found that fascinating. That, man, I think it's maybe because Day of the Dead was kind of the black sheep of Romero's zombie films for so many years, that they kind of had to stick together, because it wasn't like, everybody's dying to, talk about Day of the Dead all the time, so they kind of had this experience in this, like, group thing. And now after years, after the movies kind of become, beloved way more so than it did when it first came out, they get to do all the conventions and all that together. So I always thought that was, or a really cool aspect of it. But yeah, losing Tim. Paul Macaluso was another one. I was friends with Paul on Facebook, and he would wish me happy birthday every year and stuff. But he was just a guy. I remember hearing him on the WJON radio podcast with Matt Blasey and Eric Kent back in the day. And So I added him on Facebook. He added me back, and he was just like one of those guys I would just pop in and say happy birthday every year and stuff, you know. And I was like, oh man, Paul Macaluso, wish me happy birthday. Like, how cool is that, you know? And people are like, who? And I was like, oh, it's the dude from Dawn of the Dead. Don't worry about it. Again, like being the outcast, like nobody knows. Like Paul Macaluso to me is like a big celebrity, you know, and to him, like Paul, like he was just there. I think he worked at the mall for a while when they were filming Dawn of the Dead. Like he'd worked at numerous stores and was just kind of around and kind of got the gig because he plays one of the guys on the rooftop 247 when Joe Shelby and John Amplis burst out the door and start, you know, they have the gunfight on the rooftop. He's the guy that's the guy's like, yeah, the rope. I don't know what the hell he's saying in that scene, to be honest with you. But that's Paul, and of course over the years that was kind of one thing he did years ago, and then I think he showed up at a Living Dead weekend a couple of years ago, and so yeah, it was pretty good. I had no idea he was even sick until I had no idea until I found out that he had passed away, and I was like, oh, you know, that's pretty sad because he's still a pretty young guy, if I remember. I mean, he wasn't an older guy at all, but I think of cancer. I think, of course, like fucking cancer, man. I could be wrong about that. I don't want to just start blabbing about, you know, shit I'm not sure of, but that's usually the case when it's a younger guy like that. And then, of course, Dave James, finding out that he had passed, which I never got the chance to meet Dave, but he had done some of the conventions. And of course, he's got one of the greatest zombie falls in cinema history. It's him and the fucking bathing suit zombie in Dawn of the Dead. He's the last zombie that gets shot at the end of Night of the Living Dead. He's the zombie that gets shot from behind, grabs his face, and does the face plant down on the ground. One of the best zombie bumps in any of the films to me. And he was just a guy that was there. I think he worked at one of the TV stations. He was just there doing like a local, like a story on the filming of Night of the Living Dead. And there's images of him interviewing, you know, the crew about the making of the movie, and he was there, put some zombie makeup on him, and he dedicated himself to that fall. And I'm just like, that's a fall that if in Hollywood 9 times out of 10, like you would just bring in the stunt actor to do, like, oh, okay, bring in the stunt guy. We need a stunt guy for this. But like, no, he's just this guy that fucking just landed like that. I was like, it's so impressive. And of course, he's interviewed in the autopsy of the dead documentary. So yeah, that was really shitty news in 2025 when it comes to people that we lost. But I just wanted to hats off to those guys. I still may do it, but I know I did a tribute video last year, and it's just been so hectic and crazy around here. Maybe I'm going to try to get around to doing like a tribute video like I did last year for, you know, Tony Todd and Dave Emge and those guys. So, but yeah, I just wanted to give those guys a shout out and say rest in peace, you know, tough losses in 2025. And man, you hate to say it, but man, like 2026, you would love to go through the entire year and not lose anybody and everything's great. And it's just like, everybody's healthy and happy. But, you know, it's like, as time goes on, like it's just, you lose more and more of these people. And you kind of shudder to think like, oh, Jesus, who's next? You know? So yeah, I try not to think about that too much and try not to worry about that too much. But again, it's inevitable. It's just part of life. But, so let's hope we can narrow that list down. If nothing else, just narrow that fucking list down next year, because it's not fun to talk about at all. So I think Larry commented here. Ed says, I only hate it when they kill off legacy characters. Yeah, that is kind of an easy cop out when they do that. They bring them back just to kill them off. And it's like, okay, now that's their, you know, send off into the sunset type of thing. And it's like, nah, just leave them be. Just leave them alone. Larry says, yeah, it was great to see her that day and introduce Sean to her. Yeah, I remember seeing that. And there's stories from everybody that I know that's like, oh yeah, I met Ella Mae Smith. She was out on her porch, and that's kind of how she got involved with the movie. The story that she tells was just like, oh yeah, me and my husband were sitting out there on the porch, and they walk up to us and ask if we wanted to be zombies in the movie. And my husband was like, no, we're not interested in that. But she was like, yeah, we are interested in that. So she kind of strong armed him into it. And, you know, I think it's the One for the Fire documentary. where she's talking about like, that's her claim to fame, like she's some super nice lady. Yeah, that one sucked. Larry says she was an awesome lady, so nice and just cool and genuine. Yeah, you can definitely tell. Like, I never met Ella May, unfortunately. I never got the chance to, but I know my buddy Will met Ella. Most everybody I knew had met her and had nothing but nice things to say about her, but never did get a chance to meet her. I know she was at that Living Dead weekend in 2023 in the October show, and it was just one of those guests that I was like trying to get around to and just never did. And now I regret it. So again, lesson learned, guys. Lesson learned. It says Leah Thompson once said that her and the Howard the Duck casting crew are almost war survivors when they meet. That's probably a little bit of that too for Day of the Dead, because man, the shooting conditions and the shit they had to go through on that set. Yeah, I'm sure that does kind of feel like your old Vietnam buddies or something like that. As badly as that movie got ripped by the press, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there is a lot of that too. When it comes to the cast from Day of the Dead, because I'm sure they got a lot of shit for that movie over the years. And I wonder, you wonder how much like that movie hurt some of their careers. Like you don't. I'm trying to think, like, because I think Lori was a great actress. Lori could have done so much more. Joe Pilato obviously could have done more. But again, it's like one of those things. It's like when you go to Hollywood and you hand them your resume and there's Day of the Dead, this, over the top, bloody movie that was not even a box office success. And even most of like genre films like that, when a producer sees that that's your that's your claim to fame or that's on your resume, it's dismissed immediately. It's like you look at Dawn of the Dead, you look at Scott Reiniger, you look at David Emge, and it's like, why didn't those guys get more work after Dawn of the Dead? I mean, Dawn of the Dead, one of the greatest fucking horror movies ever made. But it's just that, most people look at that and say, oh, you did that thing? And I was like, oh, we don't want that. So yeah, you wonder how much of that played a role. And where their careers went or didn't go, I guess. Aaron Jordan's got a question here. What's up, Aaron? It says, will we ever get the 3.5 hour cut of Martin? Will we ever get it? I don't know. I can't say. That question, well, that can only be answered by one guy, and that guy is not talking, and that guy is Richard Rubenstein. Because they do have it. It is at the archive, the Romero archive at the University of Pittsburgh. And from my understanding, it has been digitized, so it's you could watch it without having to actually project the actual film. But will it ever be available, or will anything ever happen to it? I don't know. I tend to lean, I guess the optimistic part of me tends to lean that someday, somehow, whether it's just a screening here and there, or even if we get lucky enough to get some kind of release at some point, someday we'll see it. Will it be anytime in the near future? I don't think so. I don't know, but I don't think so. Believe me, that's like one of my dreams, one of my white whales, one of the things that I need to see, need to experience before I die. But it doesn't. There's nothing on the horizon, at least. But we can always hold out hope, I guess. So, but yes, that is a burning question, and I think we all have, my man. Yeah. I mean, it definitely. I think. Yeah, I mean that's a whole topic you can go into and spend so much time on. I was like, how Day of the Dead affected George's career going forward, because I mean that was kind of the end of George's relationship with the Laurel guys. It was the last time he worked with Richard. It was the last time he worked with Gornick. Technically, I mean, I guess Creepshow 2. I mean, you can say he worked with Gornick on Creepshow 2, but yeah, Day of the Dead was kind of like, you wonder like if Day of the Dead had been a big success the way that Dawn was. I mean, I still think that they would have splintered off and gone their own ways, but where George's career went after the lack of success of Day of the Dead, it felt like George was like, okay, I'm tired of to me, it felt like George was like, all right, I'm kind of tired of putting my neck out here and trying to move heaven and earth to get these films made. So I'm going to go try to play the system the way that, a real director does, like, oh, I'll go to a studio and I'll, I'll try to adapt this pre-existing novel or this thing that already exists. And George, I guess, kind of talked himself into, maybe I need to start playing the game a little more. And I think he, in hindsight, probably maybe regretted that a little bit. But at the same time, it's like after the deal with, Salah Hassanan was up, and the relationship that he had with Richard Rubenstein, which Rubenstein had already kind of moved up past. Like, Rubenstein really was only kind of a producer on Day of the Dead in name only. Like, I don't know how often he was on the set for Day of the Dead. Most of Day of the Dead was oh fuck, what's his name? Not David Ball, but I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but there was a line producer basically that pretty much did all the things that Richard Rubenstein used to do on, like, Martin Dawn, stuff like that, where Richard was more of like the office guy at that point and was really just kind of their producer in name. I mean, he was still the producer, but he wasn't, on set doing things like he was before that. So Richard had already kind of moved on, was already kind of wanting to do other things, do other films, do more with TV, more television, which George was never really interested in ever doing television. So they were going to split off and do their own things anyway. And if you ever read the Making of Day of the Dead from Lee Carr, the book back here, he goes into, we're an interview with Mike Gornick, where Gornick was talking about how his relationship with George at the time was starting to sour a little bit, like they weren't really communicating and on the same page like they were, years prior. So I think all that would have split off in different directions either way, whether it was success or not. But what George would have done after that, I don't know. Maybe he would have still done something like Monkey Shines, but we'll never know. It says, question for everyone: Canon or New World Pictures? Who had the better film library? I've always been more of a Canon guy, I think. But New World Pictures, they had some good stuff too. New World was Hellraiser. I don't know. I'd have to look at a list to see. It's a good question though. But Canon was always kind of the one that always comes to mind for me from that era. But what does everybody else say? So yeah, I think I'd go with Canon, but I'd have to look at like a list of who all did what during that time period. So I talked about 2026, new year, new me, new ideas, new goals, I've never been big into like New Year's resolutions. I always felt like that was just a mistake that people make that just set themselves up for failure, which is a very pessimistic way of looking at it. But I've never been big on New Year's resolutions, but I do take this time of year to kind of look back on the year previous and kind of do a little reflecting and say, okay, what do I want to be better at? What do I want to do better in 2026 going forward? Like, what did I do well in 2025? What went well for me in 2025? What do I want to do better? So I look at it that way, and just thinking about what I want to do with the channel going forward. And it's always a good time to kind of, wring the sponge out, reset the tapes, and kind of see what you want to do with the year going forward, I guess. And just thinking about like, what am I interested in talking about? What am I interested in doing? For me, I think for 2026, my goal in 2026, I really want to focus on and explore more of Romero fandom, more of the world of Romero fandom, because I think that's what always interests me. Like, who are these people? Because it's the work that a lot of these people have done, like Larry, perfect example, the work and the dedication that they put into the love and the passion and the dedication to these films. And and sharing their knowledge and their love and passion of these films with other people. Like that's what really carries the legacy. That's what carries these films into the future for other generations, for younger generations. That's what it did for me. Like when I was young and first discovered the movies, like I was like, oh, these movies are great, but I don't know anything about them, and I don't know who, then you start discovering, the websites and the message boards, and you just start discovering all these people that have put in the work to find out this information. John Vulo, perfect example, is a guy that has put in so much work and so much time, and that his work and his passion makes me love these films more, makes me more passionate about these films because I love learning about them. And I think that's the thing that kind of separates the Romero fandom universe, or whatever you want to call it, from a lot of other filmmakers and a lot of other genres and stuff, is that there's something about his films that make people want to find out more. They want to learn more about them, and there's like this community of people that are super passionate and super just knowledgeable, and they love sharing that knowledge. So my what I want, like my goal for 2026, is to explore that a little more, to dig in a little more, find out more about, some of these people, where they started, how they got started, like because I just think without those people, more so than anything else, really, like I love the movies, and I've loved, the documentaries and stuff that people have done over the years for these documentaries. But like finding these people like that I looked up to for like the information of like, okay, whether it's like a location or information about an actor, or like John Vulo literally figuring out who every single person in Night of the Living Dead was. Like I love that stuff. Like that's the stuff that's and John put it, it's one of my favorite quotes ever. I say it all the time, but it's like it's the closest we'll ever get to being on set. And the beauty about Romero's stuff in Pittsburgh, it's like you can actually go to the set. Like it's like you can love Star Wars, or you can love whatever movie, but it's like you can't ever really go and visit that set, and you can't really literally go and visit, the Titanic or whatever. You can go and revisit like uh, a replica or something, but it's like with George's films, you can literally go to the mall where they shot Dawn of the Dead. You can literally go to the mall, the Dawn of the Dead mall, or you can literally go to the cemetery from Night of the Living Dead, or you can, literally go to the downtown Fort Myers from Day of the Dead and everything there. And it's just like, that's where they shot it. That's where this happened. That's where this happened. Um, I think that's one of the big things that keeps George's legacy going forward. I mean, what are we now? Like almost 8 years. God, it's almost 9 years now. Holy shit. Since George's passing, that there's still this fervor and this excitement and interest in his films, to the point that there's, a Living Dead weekend, a convention that literally exists in his honor and his name for his films. You don't see that for, you know, Cronenberg, or, John Carpenter, but there's something about Romero's stuff that there's this, bubbling up of passion that these people have for it. So I really want to focus a lot on that going forward in 2026, and I think that's going to start. I think we confirmed it today. So the show coming up January 24th, which is a Saturday night. It'll be another edition of Talkin' Romero with special guest Norman England, all the way from Japan. So it's gonna be an interesting one, because we're gonna be same time here. So it's gonna be 9 p.m. here, 10 p.m. Eastern time. But for him over in Japan, it's gonna be like noon on Sunday. So it'll be interesting. So I'm super super looking forward to that. And if you guys are not familiar with with Norman England and all that he's worked on and put together, and the love and passion that he's had for George's films from over the years. Like I think the first time he visited the Monroeville Mall was in like the early 80s, I think. So he was like one of the first guys that like really started to discover a lot of this stuff. As a fan, he was one of the first websites that I remember visiting back in the day, which I think just recently the website finally ended up getting shut down or whatnot. But yeah, he's done so much and contributed so much to the Romero fandom. Like I owe a lot to the work and the passion that he's put into it over the years. So super looking forward to finally getting Norman England on the channel and having a big long conversation about it with him. Um, and then in that same vein, we're bringing back Collecting the Dead. It's been a while. The last one I did with Jace was almost 6 months ago, I think, or maybe longer than that. But shit, man, time flies and time goes by so fast. I just haven't gotten around to it. But doing another edition of Collecting the Dead with another guy that I owe a lot to, a guy that I probably wouldn't. I mean, probably I would not be doing what I'm doing now on YouTube if I hadn't discovered his podcast with Eric Kent. But got it settled down on the 31st, January 31st, the following Saturday. It's going to be Collecting the Dead with Matt Blasey. Of course, author of 8 Days in the Woods, the book on the Blair Witch Project, diehard Romero fan. One of the first Romero fanatics that I remember talking to when I was like 13, like 12, 13 years old. Like I discovered his website back in the day and found him on AOL Instant Messenger and sent him a message. And he was like the only guy that I knew that would talk about Romero with me. And I was like, oh, it's so cool. So gonna have Matt Blasey on the 31st, January 31st in this month for the return of Collecting the Dead. And you want to talk about a collection? Like Blasey's got some interesting stuff in his collection, so I'm gonna try to get him to pull out as much of it as he can, or as he's willing to. So yeah, that's what's coming up at the end of this month. Other shows on the docket that I'm working on. So every year in January, I usually do like a history, like the past 2 years. The first year I did the history of Dawn of the Dead on home video. I did the history of Day of the Dead on home video last year. And of course, like you would think like, oh, the obvious next step would be the history of Night of the Living Dead on home video. You're wrong. I will not tackle that topic. There is actually a book out there that covers that topic very well, and you can find it and you can do that. But if I were to do that, this would be like a never ending fucking podcast. So we'll do something with Night of the Living Dead at some point for all the different variations of the releases that Night of the Living Dead has gotten over the years. But when something like that has gotten like hundreds and thousands of different releases over the years, it's hard to do like a quintessential breakdown of the entire history of that. So instead, I thought would be interesting to do to do the history of Romero's films on the Anchor Bay Entertainment label. Because that, to me, like Anchor Bay and Romero were kind of hand in hand. Because when I first discovered Romero, that was when Anchor Bay was starting to re-release a lot of his stuff on VHS, on DVD. So to me, they go hand in hand. Of course, Felsher was working with Anchor Bay at the time, doing a lot of the Romero stuff. So I learned a lot about Romero from those Anchor Bay releases back in the day. So plan is go through one by one all the different releases that Anchor Bay put out of all of Romero's films. We're talking The Crazy, Season of the Witch, Martin, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Night Riders. I think that's all that Anchor Bay put out. They did the Night of the Living Dead 30th anniversary too, so we'll talk about that. So yeah, that'll be coming up sometime here in the next few weeks. The history of Romero films and Anchor Bay Entertainment. Ranking show. I want to do ranking Romero adjacent films, which is something I've been wanting to do for a while, where we look at John Russo's films and Bill Heinzman's films and Tony Bubba, and we're gonna rank them. We're gonna get the old tier list out, and we're gonna do that. And like I said, next week, Romero Fan Roundtable, halfway to Living Dead Weekend Edition. So anybody out there that's interested and wants to come on, talk and just hang out for a few hours and talk some Romero, talk some Living Dead Weekend, you're more than welcome. Just hit me up. What else do I got? Oh, and I know everybody's going to love this, but Synth reached out to me. He wants to do a Children of the Living Dead watch along sometime soon. So that's on the docket as well. So we'll definitely be doing a Children of the Living Dead watch along. But so yeah, that's kind of where I want to go. And of course, Living Dead Weekend coming up in June. We're going to do a bunch of shows and stuff around that as well. So yeah, 2026, I really wanted to just kind of set a goal and just kind of focus in on a certain aspect of Romero, because it's like, it's like I could, you guys know, I could talk about Dawn of the Dead until the cows come home, but there's only so much you can say without actually getting into like, why does that film last stand the test of time the way that it has. And I think just a huge part of that is just like there's this core group of people like like Larry and Blasey and Norman England and Michael Felsher and Chris Stavrakis and all these guys that have over the years have kind of built this, cultivated this stuff and all this information and all this knowledge and passion for it, and made it so infectious for other people to kind of join in. And you're like, oh wow, okay. So I just think that'd be fun. But so that's what's to expect in 2026. So see here, I'm catch up on these comments. Steven says Ken Foray worked quite a bit, not huge parts necessarily, but everything from The Wanderers to Joe John Dancer, or is that right? I don't know. Your Life is Calling, to Hang Fire, to Texas Chainsaw 3, and those were before Rob Zombie. Yeah. Ken Foray was like the one that did, I mean, Kenan and Kel, From Beyond, Death Spa. I mean, Ken Foray was kind of the one that continued to really get a lot of work after the fact, after Dawn of the Dead come out, as he should have. I mean, he's fantastic in Dawn of the Dead. But yeah, I was always just so surprised that Scott Reiniger didn't do more. I was surprised that Dave Emge didn't do more, which Emge was in a few things after the fact. I mean, he was in like Basket Case 3. He kind of had this like return in like the early 90s with, what's that movie called? Like Hellbound or some shit like that. Hellfire. Yeah, I've never seen it, but it's one I want to check out because it's David Emge. But yeah, it always just kind of blew me away. I was like, none of those guys actually, really went on and did a whole lot after Dawn of the Dead. I mean, I know Scotty went back to LA and really made his bones as a teacher, teaching acting. And so that makes total sense. And I know Galen Ross is now a filmmaker in her own right, and a documentary filmmaker in her own right. And she's had her career, very successful, award-winning career after the fact. So it's not like they just kind of disappeared and went off and did nothing. But that was the thing that really, I don't know, sparked my interest or drew my attention to Dawn of the Dead when I originally saw it to begin with. Was I didn't know any of these actors. I didn't know who these people were. I just thought, like, in my mind, they were just like local people that were never heard of again. And that was like the intriguing aspect of the movie. It wasn't like, because when you're a kid, you're like, oh, it's Chuck Norris or it's Clint Eastwood or somebody like that. But here are these like actors that like I didn't know. I'd never seen anything else, but I was drawn to. I had a connection with. I was like, oh, those guys are cool. I like those guys. And so in my mind, like, they were always just kind of like just lived on a farm out in the middle of nowhere, and it was just like, oh, I did this movie back in the day that nobody's ever heard of, because nobody talked about Dawn of the Dead other than me when I was younger. But yeah, there's so many actors I could think of that worked on George's films that you could really say, like, oh, why didn't they do more? Why didn't they, like, Amplas is a perfect example. It's like, why didn't John Amplas get more work in film? I mean, he was always a theater actor, stage actor for years and years after the fact in Pittsburgh. Maybe that's part of it too. Like, they didn't want to leave Pittsburgh. But it's like, you would think, like, oh, there's definitely roles out there for John Amplas, Ray Lane. There's roles out there for Ray Lane for sure, right? It's like, it's like, no, it's for one reason or another, it just never worked out that way. But then you got, your Ed Harrises of the world that went on to be fucking Ed Harris. And you see him in Creepshow doing the fucking Ed Harris dance. And you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. I dig that. It says, funny enough, I'm working on a book about us heavy metal fans and our fandom. I was talking about that with Revival House guys the other night. We were talking about, I'm sure you've seen Heavy Metal Parking Lot from back in the day. That to me, like, is one of the more interesting documentaries about heavy metal and music in general. It's just like the fandom, like seeing the fans in action. Like, to me, like, that's always been more intriguing than, because I mean, you see interviews and stuff with a lot of the musicians and actors and filmmakers and stuff like that. And a lot of the times they're saying a lot of the same shit. You're hearing, if you've listened to them enough, you recognize the stories, you recognize, what they're going to say, how they're going to answer certain questions. So there's only so much you're really going to get from that. But the interesting part is when you're talking to these fans, it's like, and you start hearing the stories of how they discovered these movies and how it affected them, and their theories on it, and why, why that why a certain thing has that kind of hold and that kind of grip on them and just the fans in general. I don't know. I've always been more fascinated with that aspect. But yeah, Heavy Metal Parking Lot was a perfect example of that Aaron gave the other night, and I was like, yes, we need more of that. Okay, Steven saying Canon Films. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Nothing against New World, but the Charles Bronson pictures alone give Canon the edge. Yeah, Canon was one. Orion was always another one. I remember from the time that it kind of went out of business in the early '90s. I remember seeing on a bunch of what's the company that did like Total Recall, Terminator 2, was it Coralco? It does the C, you know what I'm talking about? That was one because I think they also didn't they also do First Blood? Wasn't that a Coralco film as well? That was a company that anytime you saw that fucking logo pop up at the beginning of a movie, you were in for a fucking badass movie. So that would be my one. That would be my old school pick. Larry says, you need to go to Fort Myers. I do. It will blow you away. It's pretty amazing down there. Yeah, I definitely do. It's definitely on the list. I think it's like a perfect spot for like a family vacation because you're right on the beach. You're in Florida, but also it's like gives you a reason to go see Day of the Dead locations. So yeah, that's definitely one that I need to get down to. I almost moved down there. I had a job offer down in Fort Myers a couple of years ago, and we decided against it because we were just getting ready to have Everly. We don't want to move too far away from family and all that. And I was like, that's understandable, but that'd have been pretty cool. I'm not the biggest fan of the beach, honestly. Like you guys can tell, I'm white. And I don't look like a surfer. So, but but yeah, I would love to go just to visit Sanibel Island and downtown Fort Myers, and that would be what I would be going for. And then we could go to the beach, and everybody's gonna have their fun. But Daddy just wants to go walk around town and take pictures of old buildings. Larry says, get him to pull out his wood. Maybe I'll do that. We'll see how that goes. Maybe the thing that finally gets me canceled. Steven says, JoJo. Sorry, okay, gotcha. JoJo. I don't think I've seen that one. What was it? What was it? JoJo Rabbit? Is that what you said? JoJo Dancer. Okay. JoJo Rabbit. There's a JoJo Rabbit movie, right? Okay. Yeah. I haven't seen JoJo Dancer, Hang Fire. Texas Chainsaw 3 was like the first time I remember seeing Ken Foray in something other than Dawn of the Dead and thinking it was the coolest thing in the world. I was like, oh my God, it's fucking Peter, man. He's in other shit. But yeah, I never saw Dave or Scotty in anything else, so. And Steven says, underrated Ed Harris movie, Run All Night, has a real 70s vibe, in my opinion. Okay. When did that come out? Run All Night. I've never seen that. Ed Harris is one of those actors that's been in so much. It's hard to say, like, this is an Ed Harris movie because he's been in, like, fucking everything. But for me, he'll always be King Billy. So. It says, yeah, Coralco Pictures, long, interesting story as to why they went out of business. Yeah, it's amazing. A lot. And, I wouldn't say amazing. I mean, it's just kind of how shit goes. They get bought up by a bigger company or, the monopoly aspect of it. But yeah, that was one of those companies. Like, dude, you guys did Terminator 2 and Total Recall, and you guys had a lot of big ass hits. And then it's the same with Orion. Orion Pictures had all kinds of big hits out there. And then, they eventually go out of business. But everything eventually just got sucked up into like these 2 or 3 companies that are left now, Disney and Netflix and whatever now. But yeah, it's it's amazing how that shit happens. It doesn't take much. But yeah, that was always the one that I remember when that C would show up, I'd be like, oh shit, it's about to get real. Chance, what's up, brother? Chance 2D says Dawn of the Dead 1978 is the greatest movie ever made. I agree. Controversial statement here on this channel, but yeah, I agree, sir. But how you doing, man? Are you planning on being a Living Dead weekend coming up? That's right. That's where I first met you last year. But yeah, speaking of, yeah, they've officially was announced Living Dead Weekend 2026 will be the final Dawn of the Dead reunion at Living Dead Week or Living Dead Weekend at the Monroeville Mall. just thinking about different guests and stuff that could be there. I could come up with a whole list of people that I'd love to see there, but um, from what just from what I've heard, they're Larry, and they're really making a big push to get as many people as everybody that they can get to be there this year, whatever it's going to take. So I'm super curious to see. I would love to get Mike Christopher. I've never met Mike Christopher, even though you guys can see over here I got his autograph, but that was a gift from somebody else. I've still yet to meet Mike Christopher. I'd love to get him out there. I mean, he was just at Weekend of the Dead over in the UK, so I think it's doable. So that'd be a big one. Jim Bafko would be a big one. My dream guest, of course, would be Dario. I'd love to get Argento to the mall for the last hurrah. I mean, the movie that would not exist without Dario Argento, Dawn of the Dead. Would love to get him there. I don't know how viable that is, but yeah, I just think Richard Rubenstein would definitely be one I would love to have, but I don't think that's going to happen. But Rubenstein would be like a guy that I would just like to talk to. I'd just love to, I don't know, get a vibe from him, just to see, are you really, what are you like in real life? Like, because all we get are, it's just, he's kind of a mythological figure at this point. Very few people have ever really had contact with Richard. So, but yeah, it's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be fun, but it's gonna be, you would talk about 2026 and trying to be optimistic and look on the bright side and think of all the good things there is to look forward to in 2026. But it is also bittersweet to know that this is, 2026 is probably most likely the last year that mall is going to be in existence. So we all heard the news, April 2027. That's when they plan on shutting everything down and starting the deconstruction and all that. So I'm trying to enjoy it, well, while you can and all that, but it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. I'll say that. Like I had a dream here recently where I literally got off work, drove all the way to Pittsburgh just in time to walk through the mall one more time before they closed it, just so I'd get in the car and turn around, go back home type of thing. Not looking forward to it, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what they got in store. Okay. So Larry with the big scoop here. Larry, I'm gonna start calling Larry Two Scoops. Larry says, I'll give you a scoop. Mike Christopher is pretty likely. So there we go. We got a scoop here tonight, guys. All right. That would be cool, man. I've never met Mike. I've heard stories from people that have, and he's everything I've ever heard. He's super cool. Always willing to get into the Hare Krishna getup. So, that'd be pretty fucking cool, man. That'd be pretty fucking cool. So yeah, there's your scoop for tonight, guys. Mike Christopher, pretty likely, not for sure, but pretty likely. Okay, Chint's definitely going for sure. Awesome, man. Awesome. I'll see you there. I would love to do something. It's like I was saying earlier. It's like I feel like there's some work that needs to be done here, but I would love to get come up with a location or a time where we could all just kind of get together at a restaurant or a bar or something and just kind of hang out and have some drinks and all kind of get to know each other. Because it's so weird to me because I do this on the weekends and I see you guys in the chat and I've gotten to know quite a few of you over the years and become friendly and stuff, but it's like you want to get everybody together at one time so we can all kind of meet. It's like we have this little group, this movie club or something every weekend, and then it's like you want to all get together and have a beer, and really get to know each other and stuff. So I don't know, maybe I'll try to figure something out like that, maybe find a bar or something and be like, okay, meet us at this bar at on Thursday night at whatever time, and I don't know. Maybe I'll try to figure out something like that, but we shall see. Steve says Run All Night 2015. Can't believe it's actually been 10 years since I saw it in the theater. Wow. Yeah, I've never even heard of that, man. 2015. And yeah, that's crazy to think 10 years ago it was 2015. 2015 to me sounds like, oh, that's a new movie, you know, but then you think about it, it's like 10 years. It's a decade old. More than a decade old now, actually. Chin says, at least I'm going to try one last time. Yeah, get it out there, man. Get it out there. I want to get the M logo tattoo from the tattoo shop at the mall before it's all gone. Do it, man. They did mine, and it was just a simple design there right below my my Dawn tattoo, and did good work. So I recommend them. I recommend them. Robert says, I hope I can get to the mall this time. I wanted to go last year, but couldn't. Yeah, man, you got to get out there. And you're a huge Night 90 fan, man. And Washington, PA is not too far from Monroeville and everything that goes down. So you have to get out there and visit the cemetery from Night 90, and you can see the house, the actual farmhouse from Night 90 out there as well. But just don't go down the driveway. You know, don't stop off at the Washington Dairy Queen before you do. But there is a spot there on the side on the road next to the house where you can actually see everything. It's pretty cool. But man, the cemetery from Night 90 out there, it still looks almost exactly the same. And it's a beautiful, beautiful spot where that cemetery is at, because it's like on this hill. Because that area out there, the Washington, PA area, it's very hilly, like, and where that cemetery sits, you're like just looking out over this like vast landscape around you, man. It's a really beautiful spot out there, and it's really easy to match up shots and stuff out there too. So yeah, man, let me know if you're coming, man. If you want to go out there, because I'd love to go back out there. I've only been to to the cemetery once, so if you want to meet up and head out there, man, I'll go with you. So. But I will not go down to that house with you. That's all on you, man. If you want to take that chance, you go for it. I am not shitting my pants. No thanks. Let's see. Larry said I talked to Mike and he seems down with it. Kevin just has to arrange it. Very cool, man. That's great news. That's awesome news. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. I know his big thing was the reason he hasn't been to so many was that he was like against flying, right? Because he's down in Florida now, right? So he would have to fly in, I'm guessing. So, but I guess he got over that to go over to the UK. So that's awesome news, man. So there you go. There's your scoop. And if he doesn't show up, blame it on Larry. You're gonna start getting the Felsher responses like, "Oh, you lied to us! You lied to us!" Max Zed, what's going on, man? When does the mall close? Are you talking about just like on a daily basis, or just in general? Because daily they usually close around 8. So, but in general, I think the last unless something has changed, or unless something changes from here on out, April 1st, 2027 is the last day that the mall is set to be open for for the public, I guess. And I've heard mixed stories about, when a lot of the stores inside of the mall are closing and when they're going to be out. So I haven't been there since October, but I'll say this: when I was there in October, I mean, there were stores opening up. Like there was a store there right across from the Living Dead Museum, which, if you haven't been, definitely check out the Living Dead Museum. It's fucking awesome. But there was a store like right across from the Living Dead Museum that was having their grand opening at the time. I was like, did they not get the memo? But like I said, the mall itself, as of October when I was there last, was still about 75-80% occupied. Like there were a few empty storefronts, of course, but for the most part, like people were still there shopping. I mean, Gloria Jeans was still there brewing up great coffee, and the food court was still rolling. You can still get some cheesesteaks and Japanese food, Chinese food, whatever you want. Pizzas, Sparrows was still there. So it was just weird. It didn't have that vibe of like a dead mall. It's like I was saying earlier, it doesn't have a dead mall feel to it. It doesn't feel like a mall that's going to be, demolished in a couple of years. It had more of like it was just, it was an obviously a mall that, wasn't as happening as it used to be, but no mall is, but it's still a mall that's, still has quite a bit of traffic and quite a bit going on. So So yeah, I don't know. It's I'm still having trouble wrapping my head around the idea that that mall's not going to be there in 2 years. It just doesn't feel real. So, but we'll see. But as of right now, from the press release and everything, and what Walmart plans to do with it, April 1st, 2027 is the is D-Day for the Monroeville Mall. So, but we'll see. We'll see. Steven says, if you could steal one thing from the mall and not have any repercussions and have the room to display / store, what a great question. What a great question. Because we've joked about that before. Just like, oh man, I'm going to bring a U-Haul and just back that fucker up and just get as much as I can. That is a great question. I mean, obviously there are bits and pieces of the biker entrance that I would love to have and display. Of course, the rock wall there on the side, the bay doors, like all that is pretty much exactly the same as it was in the movie. And they're selling. I mean, they've taken some of the bricks from that entrance already, and they've started selling them at the Living Dead Museum because I guess they were doing some construction and stuff out there to begin with. Just give me a big chunk of some of the marble pillars. I would love. I don't know what the hell I would do with it or display it. I know there are quite a few people that have some of the lighting fixtures that they took down years ago that you could that were there when they shot the film. I know Blasey has one of them. I know Bob O'Rourke, another big time Dawn collector. I know he has one that's actually mounted on his wall and actually works, which is pretty fucking awesome. But yeah, man, just some of the stuff that's still there from the time that Dawn of the Dead was filmed, like some of the marble and stuff on some of the pillars. Give me some of that. Just give me like just give me one of the pillars. Fuck it. I don't know, man. Like, it's really hard to say for me. Like, I mean, if we're talking, give me some of the gauges from the boiler room. I see Chintz down there in the comment. The keys to the kingdom. Yeah, give me some of the gauges from the fucking boiler. I don't know. And I don't know how I would display it or what I would do with it. But just to have it, just to keep it. Like, I have all kinds of just random bits of stuff from like the airport, like just bits and pieces. Like my buddy Matt, when he visited the Skybus location, for There's Always Vanilla, got a piece of the turnstile there and sent me a piece of that, and I love that thing just because I know that piece of turnstile was there when they shot the film. Like I just like having it as just kind of like just a just as a little keepsake, something that's sacred to me, that means so much to me. And from, like I said, to most people, it's just junk. It's just garbage. Why the hell would you have it? Larry's a big collector of that type of stuff, man. Like Larry, I know recently just bought the big meeting desk or the conference table from Land of the Dead. And I'm just like, dude, where are you gonna put that? What are you gonna do with it? And he's like, I don't know, but I had to have it. And I'm like, I don't blame you, man. I'd love to have that fucking thing. I'd have that thing set up right over here, man. I'd be doing all my business there. I just set up my own little office. But there's just something about having those little pieces of, it's almost like a piece of history for me. Like, I'm not a big like history, like if somebody had like, George Washington's pen or something like that, to me, it's the same thing as if I were to have like, oh, this was the pen that George wrote this letter on or something like that, just because I'm a movie nerd, man. I'm a film nerd. So to actually have like pieces of the mall, pieces of the airport, stuff to commemorate these locations from, is to me is just the same as like Gettysburg or any of these like major landmarks around the country that people go to genuflect to or whatever. But yeah, man, that's a great question. I guess I gotta start thinking of that, don't I? Fortunately. Chin says that'd be cool to knock back some Iron City beers at a local bar. Hell yeah, man. Let's do it. I've actually never checked out a lot of the local bars around like the Monroeville area and stuff. So I'd be kind of curious to check out some of those. I've been to quite a few of the bars in like downtown Pittsburgh, like a couple years back when me and Will were down there late one night. just kind of hopping around different bars and stuff around like the district area where the Permane brothers and stuff is. But actually going to like one of the local like smaller like dive bars, like pubs or something like that. Like, yeah, I'd be down for that, man. Let's do it. It says, so Ed said, I would track down the blood pressure machine or one of the BP trucks. At least one of those trucks has to be in a junkyard somewhere. Yeah, I've thought about that. I think I saw somebody actually had like a sign, one of the BP truck signs somewhere they had found. The blood pressure machine, I would guarantee you that thing is gone. I don't know what the hell would happen to that. It's probably rusting somewhere in the middle of a forest somewhere for all I know. But yeah, now you got me thinking, man. It's like, what would it like? How like something that I like for me, like it would have to be something that I could just like display and have like a fucking shrine of, like I got, like, of course, like Blasey sent me some of his wood, so I got a piece of the wood paneling from the elevator from JC Penney's, which is awesome. Of course, I got the sign from the airport, the crew and passengers only past this point sign, which isn't in the movie technically, but it's one of those things that always caught my attention when I would go out there to visit that location. It's like, oh, that's fucking awesome. I want to have that. But yeah, it'd have to be something that I could totally display, like like what Bob O'Rourke did with the lighting fixture, something like that. But yeah, now I'm gonna start thinking about that. Larry says, I'll give you one more scoop. Ken Foray will be there. There you go. We knew that was announced in October, but yeah, he's the first one announced. I'm guessing Galen and Scotty and all those guys will definitely have to be there for sure. Got to get Bafko there, man. We whatever it takes, man. We got to get James Bafko. We got to get Wooly there, man. I'm telling you, that dude will clean up. If Jim Bafko shows up, and I'll drop a couple $100 at his table just alone. So that dude will make a killing. He'll be like Richard France. Like he's one of those characters in the film that like people kind of love to hate. He's kind of like the ultimate villain of that film. Maybe him and Savini are like the two real salty villains of the film, But like if Baffico is there, forget about it. That dude will clean up. Max Zed says I'm talking about permanently. Permanently, yeah. April 1st, 2027. As of now, unless something changes. But as of now, April 1st, 2027. That's the closing date for the Monroeville Mall going forward, unfortunately. Yeah, I agree. Good choices. Which Ed wants the original, which I would make a wild guess that the original Zenith radio from Night is still in somebody's possession. Whether it's Kyra or somebody's got it. But that's Ed's dream. Dream piece of memorabilia there. Chin says the food court was actually really good. That Chinese spot was good. They would hook me up with leftovers to take to my hotel because I would order right before closing. There you go. I always hit up the Charlie's cheesesteaks. I think it's what it's called. They have some pretty good fucking cheesesteak sandwiches there. Gloria Jeans. If you guys are going, if you like coffee, man, Gloria Jeans will keep you fucking running, man. I run on Gloria Jeans when we go to Living Dead weekend. I mean, that's kind of a running gag with all my friends at this point. It's like Gloria Jeans, like that's what you need when you're there all weekend. It'll keep you alive and alert. So yeah, Gloria Jeans is good stuff. I was not a fan of the Sbarro. I'll say that. It wouldn't for me, but the Japanese restaurant that's there, I can't remember what it's called, but that was pretty good. I know Will's a big fan of that. So yeah, I mean, there's some good stuff in that food court, and of course, I got the Red Robin outside in the district area, which we had been there a couple of times actually. So yeah, there's a steakhouse there. There's a Japanese restaurant there as well, but there was a steakhouse there as well that I've never been to, but Grande went and said it was really good back in October. So there's a lot of food choices to pick from at the Monroeville Mall. Hopefully they'll still be there in June, but And there's 2 Annie Ann's stations, so anytime I'm at a mall, I gotta stop and get an Annie Ann's pretzel at some point. Chin says the keys. Yeah, we gotta get the keys, man. Which Larry has the keys. If you take Larry's tour, man, he pulls out the keys to the kingdom. So you better watch your back, Larry. Phil of the Dead says box of spam. There you go. Wouldn't that be funny as shit if they actually had like a literal fucking box of spam somewhere tucked away from back in the day? Because I mean, back in the day, they actually did have the civil defense boxes and stuff, like the drum I got back there. They used to keep that shit stored. I mean, that's what gave George the idea when George first toured the mall with the owners of the mall. The owner was like, "Oh yeah, we have this little room upstairs where we keep all these like civil defense supplies and stuff," and that's kind of what gave George the idea of like, "Oh yeah, they could survive in a shopping mall and all that." So it'd be funny if they still had some of that stashed away somewhere in the bowels of the building, but probably I probably wouldn't recommend eating it. But it's spam. Could it get much worse? And I don't mean to knock it. I mean, it does have its own key and everything. So, see, Chin's wants those fucking keys to the kingdom. So yeah, Larry, watch your back, my man. Steven says the photo machine that the zombie extras put the pictures in place of the normies. Yeah, there you go. I wonder whatever happened to that machine too. Which there's still like some like drink machines and I think some candy machines are still in that hallway there, but the photo machine I think is gone. Actually, I'm trying to think. I think there is still a photo machine or something there, but I could be wrong about that. But I feel like I remember seeing a photo. It's not the same one, but I feel like I remember seeing something like that. Phil saying blood pressure machine. There you go. Robert says, me and you, Mike, we could dress up like cops and go to the 990 house and claim there was a disturbance, so we have to go through the house to take video evidence. Yeah, let's try that, man. Let's do that. Why not? What could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? It's not like the guy has a fucking it could I don't know. I mean, it may have changed ownership over the years. Maybe they're cooler about it now, but from every story I've ever heard has just been a horror story, so I'm terrified to even make the attempt to actually go and visit the house up close. But hey, man, if you're down to do it, go for it. Let me know how it goes. Too much of a chicken shit. Larry says the entire Johnson control panel is already spoken for. Some museum wants it and is getting it. Okay, all right, there you go. Well, I'm glad I'm glad somebody's getting it. I'm just happy that somebody is preserving the stuff. If it ain't me, I'm glad somebody's getting it, because the thing that breaks my heart the most is thinking that a lot of the stuff's gonna get junked and just discarded forever, and so that makes me a very, very happy man to know that's actually going somewhere, because that is the exact Johnson control panel from the movie. I mean, you go and you visit that spot if you're on Larry's tour and you see it. I mean, it's nothing has changed about it. I mean, it's still the same thing. So that actually makes me very happy. I'm glad to hear that. Chin says there are actually a lot of bars on 2nd Street when I would walk from the mall to the Red Roof Motel. There you go. Well, I know there's a really good restaurant if you want breakfast. There's a restaurant right behind the Red Roof Motel. I'm trying to think of what the hell it's called. Been there a couple of times, but it's actually like a restaurant / bar, so you can actually, and I think they serve beer all day long, so you can go and have an Iron City with your steak and eggs if you want first thing in the morning. I'm trying to think, what is that called? Fucking restaurant. It's right behind the Red Roof Inn. It's like you take that left there by the the putt and golf place, and it's like right down there next to it. I can't remember what the hell it's called though. Ed's saying the closing of the mall reminds me of a documentary with Kevin Von Erich walking through the Sportatorium that World Class Championship Wrestling show was from. Him seeing his dad's old desk and stuff. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff really does have that vibe. Even the airport, the Monroeville Airport, even going there the first time and actually like walking through the building and walking around the grounds and stuff, like there's just it's just in the air, like you just feel it. I don't know if the history, and like I said, it's one of those things. It's the closest you'll be without to being on set without actually being able to be there. Is that you can actually stand where they set the camera up to make the shot, and you can say like, "Oh, George was probably standing right here with a cigarette. Mike Gornick was probably right here with the camera. Um, you know, Tony Booba standing over here with the audio equipment. Fucking, Robert Williams with the boom mic. Like you can kind of picture everything in your head. So if you just stand there and just imagine it, you're like, oh fuck, I'm right here. Like this happened. Right? It's like I said, it's like Gettysburg. It's like, oh, hey, the soldiers died on this ground. There's something in the soil here. It's like a haunted house, I guess, is a good way to put it. It's like if somebody was murdered in a house or something. It'll always have that essence or that aura about it, in a more if somebody was murdered in a house. I mean, just to put it in a darker frame of representation there, but whatever. You guys know what I'm saying. It says just a day before they tore the building down, it was sad and bittersweet to see him walking and telling stories. Yeah, when did I remember the Sportatorium being, because I remember in Beyond the Mat that they had that's where they had Terry Funk's, quote unquote retirement show or whatever. And it wasn't too far after that they tore that building down, was it? Steven says, I saw a documentary, very sad moment, also sad about what happened to the Sportatorium. Well, the Sportatorium itself is funny because when they were actually doing stuff there and actually having shows and stuff, it was already kind of a dump. It was like they would always talk about the rats and the oil that they would cook the fries and stuff with. It's like they would drain the oil and there would just be like all these fucking rat carcasses and bones and stuff in the bottom of it. And it's like nobody cared. Like it was just like, yeah, whatever. It says good memory. Didn't Larry say he knows who has it? I think I saw him comment here. Yeah, right here. Larry says the Night Zenith does exist. Not sure if I can say who has it, but it supposedly exists. So yeah, it's out there. It's out there. I'd be curious to see who has that. It seems like something that like Dave Burien or somebody would have in their house somewhere. But again, it's just good to know that this stuff's still out there and still exists. If you guys ever get a chance to meet Dave Burien at the Living Dead weekend, he's always there and he's always got all these props and stuff from the movies. And I'm just like, part of me is envious. I'm just like, oh, I'd love to fucking have that. But also at the same time, like, I'm glad somebody has that. I'm glad it's still here and it's with somebody who's totally cool and open to showing it to other fans. Yeah, I just like knowing that the shit's still exists somewhere, and it hasn't just been either thrown away or destroyed or just lost to time or something, Chin says I would want to get Bafko to sign my copy of Dawn. I already got Savini. Yeah, I got a ton of shit. I could get Jim Bafko to sign. I would just love to meet him and talk to him because I mean he's an interesting cat, man. He's written books on acting in the past. Like he's had a pretty successful career outside of Dawn of the Dead, and of course he was in Night Riders, and he had some other roles in some other films that I can't think of off the top of my head. But I mean he's had a pretty impressive career. I'm trying to think what the name of the. I know he's at least written one book on acting, but I'm trying to think what the hell it's called, but I can't think of it. But yeah, that would be a big get for me. Is Bafko. Nick Mastandria is another big one I'd love to meet, because I mean he was just one of those core guys that was on that crew with Gornick and Dubinsky and John Rice and those guys. Like he was there for like everything, and of course would go on to become go to LA and become like Wes Craven's right hand man on a lot of Wes Craven's stuff. I mean that dude's worked on tons and tons of stuff over the years. So yeah, that would be a big one. Yeah, right. Don't knock it. It's got its own key. And here I'm shitting on spam, but I'm not a big spam guy. But I guess if worse comes to worse, Chin says, "Oh yeah, Charlie's is always good. We have a bunch of those cheesesteak shacks out here in California. I did eat Charlie's a bunch, but I really like Chinese restaurant. There you go. So here you go. This is where you come to get all your recommendations for restaurants and hotels when you're in the area for Living Dead weekend, which we were talking about that at on the Revival House show the other night. They were asking what hotels to stay at, and I said, well, the Residence Inn is usually the hotel, which for those of you that are interested in wanting to go ahead and book a room with the Residence Inn, the Living Dead weekend block is available right now. I did book my room just the other day, just so I can get it set in stone. So Residence Inn is a really nice, really, really good hotel. That block is available now. I'd say a lot of the hotels, it's a little pricey. Like I've said, it's a little pricey in the Monroeville area. Something like the Holiday Inn and some of the other ones around that area. The cheap one, if you really don't give a fuck where you're sleeping or what you're doing, Red Roof Inn, man, you can't get wrong with it. It's right down the road from the Monroeville Mall and right next to everything. I've stayed there a couple of times and I've lived to tell the tale, so it's not awful. But yeah, Red Roof, if that's your thing, Red Roof is available. I will say, like I mentioned this, like I will say if you want to stay somewhere, it's a little cheaper. It's a little bit of a drive from the Monroeville Mall, but in Cranberry Township, the Clarion Inn, that's I've stayed there many times. It's very, very well priced. Like what the hell happened here? And my screen went wacky. There we go. It's like $85, $90 a night. Really nice hotel rooms. They got a bar, breakfast in the morning. But it's like I said, it's in Cranberry Township. It's like right there. It's kind of right in the middle of Evans City and Monroeville. So if you're there and you want to visit the cemetery and stuff as well, it's a good spot to stay because you're right in the middle of both. But yeah. So you can't really go wrong. Never stayed at an Airbnb or anything around Pittsburgh. I've always wanted to do that. Maybe I'll do that at some point. But Chen says, and that Chinese spot at the food court is family owned. I'm trying to think what the name of that is, but yeah, I've never had it, but I'm pretty sure Will has gotten that before. I think he swears by it. It says, Larry, I'm really happy to know that it still even exists. That's good enough for me, other than owning it. Yeah, that's just me, man. Like, if I could own this shit, like, that's one of my, not regrets, but like when I went to David Emge's funeral, they had his jacket, the bomber jacket that he wears in Dawn of the Dead. He kept that jacket all those years, and to see that it still existed was just like, wow, that's amazing. I'm glad it still exists. I hope that they still have it. I hope that they're keeping it. They didn't just send it to Goodwill or something like that. Because I did talk to him while I was there. I talked to his family. I talked to his sister Sue and his sister Barb, and I mentioned, I was like, if you're ever interested and you ever want to put his jacket in like a museum or something like that, like I know the perfect spot for it, and they were very interested and very like, oh yeah. But I don't know what happened to that. What happened to the jacket over time? I think his nephew was in possession of it, and I think his nephew probably kept it for keepsake. At least that's my hope. I hope they didn't just kind of, okay, well, it's off to the Goodwill. It's like, oh no. But just seeing that it was still there was just like a mind blowing experience. I was like, oh my god, he still has the jacket after all these years. That's so cool. But it just goes to show how proud David was, of his role and in his work in Dawn of the Dead. And I thought that was really cool that he kept a lot of mementos and a lot of stuff from over the years from the film. Larry says, I've had the opportunity to see a lot of the back areas in the mall over the years, but never saw any of the civil defense supplies anywhere. Yeah, I wouldn't think that they would still have them, but I just think that'd be pretty fucking funny if somewhere under a big pile of stuff somewhere there's one box left just still sitting there from all those years ago. Like that'd be something I'd fight over. I'd be like, that's mine. Chin says, also need to get Ken's signatures. Well, he'll be there, man. Living Dead weekend, he'll be there. Ken's a super cool dude, man. You can see how much the movie and the mall and everything meant to Ken. Just hearing him talk about it back in October when he was there, and being at the VIP party, like Ken was there, and there was a moment, like I said, where Ken just kind of went off on his own and just kind of sat in the mall and just kind of was just sitting there, just kind of taking it all in. And then hearing his speech and stuff before the screening of Dawn that night, and hearing him talk about it, like you can tell, like he understands, like the movie not only means a lot to us, the fans, and has meant a lot to his career and stuff, but it's meant a lot to his life. It's like without this mall, without this movie, it's like he wouldn't have had the career and the life that he would go on to have. And I think he's very aware of that and very appreciative of that. And it comes across when you hear him talk about it, or you talk to him about it. Um, so yeah, I thought that was really cool to see. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the hell that's called. It's literally right behind the Red Roof Inn. Like so like let's say you leave the Red Roof, you take a right, you go down that road, you'll come by the putt golf and everything, and then there's like that really sharp right turn that kind of goes in like a V. Take that right, go down, and there's a really really good little restaurant there on the right hand side. They serve beer and breakfast, burgers, really good burgers. I've eaten lunch and breakfast there. It's all good. The people there, it's all like local Monroevers, like the local Monroeville people that go there. And it's like, I remember when we went there the first time in 2021, it was me, my fiance, and our daughter Everly, who was like 8 months at the time. And we're sitting there eating, and these two women, like these two local, like Pittsburgher Yinzers, like these, like, oh, she's so beautiful. Oh, they had that accent. I can't do the accent, but they were just like, oh, she's such a good eater. And they were just so kind. And so it was just such an experience. I was like, oh man, I love Pittsburgh, man. I love this. I just love this area. Love the people, love everything about it. But yeah, it's a really good restaurant, man. Highly recommended. The name of it's like right on the tip of my fucking tongue, too. I'm gonna try to think of it before the night's over. Larry says, where would they store the civil defense supplies? Larry says, since there are tons of back rooms, storage rooms, hallways, closets, etc., it has a ridiculous amount of space and storage. Yeah, it really does. And like I said, if you take Larry's tour, you go back through all those like back halls and stuff, and it's pretty fucking vast. And I know the stories over the years when fans would go and visit and try to find the stairwell, from the movie where they go up to the hideout, and it was just like, people would look and look and look, and they had no idea where the hell it was, or they'd see something similar and they would think that was it, but it actually wasn't. But there's so much kind of behind the scenes at that mall that you really could just hide out there for days and like nobody would know you were fucking there. Which I thought about, but shit, it's not a good feeling when scotch goes down the wrong way. Holy shit. Feel the burn. Steven says the walkie-talkies, how awesome would it be to have those. Larry's got one of them, man. Not the actual ones from the movie, but like the what do they call them? Propa-likes. It's the exact same model, exact same style, and he pulls it out on the tour, and it's pretty fucking cool. Again, Larry, you better watch your fucking ass, because apparently everybody in here wants everything that you got. So be careful. Larry says I was invited to see the Zenith one time, but I ran out of time to go see it. Interesting. So it's somebody It does make me think. The name Dave Burian does come to mind then, but because that would be the guy that I would think would have it. Maybe Chris, maybe Stavrakis might have that. I don't know. Well, if you ever get a chance, I'd love to see it. I'm gonna take pictures of it and send it to fucking Ed and be like, ha 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 ha. I won't let Ed know where it's at because it may come up missing. So, Steven says it was a dump when it was hosting the classic WCCW wrestling. I'm sad over the loss of the history of the place. Yeah. You can say that about, the Monroeville Airport. I mean, it was in pretty rough shape, but at the same time, it's like, oh, it's history. It doesn't matter the shape it's in. It's actually for me, the worse shape something's in, the better, because it's like it's so much so much history that hasn't been lost there. It's like there's so much still there that's original to the time period that, from when it mattered to me, whether it was from the movie or what have you. But um so yeah, I'm vehemently against upgrades and all that good stuff. So um it says, Larry, I heard that most malls have a lot of hidden areas that even employees never go because some are underground and miles long. Is Monroeville Mall like that? That's interesting. I don't know about that. Okay, Larry's saying since there's a lot of wasted space behind those stores, nothing under stores are miles long, but lots of random unnecessary spaces. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of hallways and a lot of back areas back there that just from what I've seen. Um, and she's the same. Bafco played for the Buffalo Bill. That's right. Yeah, that would be cool to get him to sign a football. There you go. Thinking outside the box. That would be like a total Paul Farver thing, because Paul is notorious, and I love him for this. Notorious for getting guests to sign like just like very insider bits of stuff. Like he had like one of my favorite things. He had Tom Atkins sign an old box, like an old Ben Gay box. Like, what's that for? But if you know Creep Show, and Tom Atkins scenes from Creep Show, there's the line, oh, you old whatever he said, you old bat, like, oh, I'll get the Ben Gay. It's like there's that line that when he's like, oh, my neck. So he brought a thing of from the time period, an old Ben Gay box for Tom Atkins to sign. So yeah, that would definitely be a that's definitely a Paul Farver pull there. Shin says, I just stay at the Red Roof Inn. It's kind of grimy, but it's cheap, and it's only a 2-mile walk from the mall. There you go. Like I said, it's not the worst I've ever stayed. I've stayed in some pretty dank down the river fucking hotels before. It's not the worst. And it's funny because there's that I don't know if you guys have ever seen that there was like a little documentary that this guy put out. I forget what country he was from, but it was a little documentary he put together from like the early 2000s. It's called Fan of the Dead. And in that, he stays at the Red Roof Inn back in the early 2000s. So anytime I see that Red Roof Inn kind of has an attachment to the lore and everything of the area just from that documentary, just because you see the old Red Roof Inn and stuff in the background. That's where, the hotel that they're staying at. That's a really fun doc. If you guys haven't seen that, I hadn't seen it until Will showed it to me. He was like, "You've never seen this?" It's a really cool little time capsule of the mall and everything from that time period. It's called Fan of the Dead. I think it's on YouTube actually, if you want to look it up. It's in Oh Yes, the Rats. February 2003, they tore down the Sportatorium. Announcer Doyle King kept the sign and displays it at wrestling. Oh, that's cool. 2003, yeah, sounds about right. But yeah, those Rats, man, it was kind of like that, like CBGBs back in the day too. They used to make that chili at CBGBs, and they used to say like you never knew what the hell was in that chili, but nobody cared. Like they would just eat it. It was like, all right, but yeah. Yeah, I think about that too, man. And like I said, back in October, that was like one of the last things I did on that Sunday. I just stepped away from everything, like everybody, and just kind of went off on my own and just kind of walked around the mall and just sat there, took it in. Literally went outside and walked a lap all around the mall, and because I'd never done it before, and it's like, well, if I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? And yeah, I mean, now is the time. I mean, that's kind of the theme for the show this year. Now is the time, because when it comes to the mall and everything, like, time is running out. So if there's anything you've ever wanted to do, if you've never been to the mall, you've always wanted to visit the mall, now is the time. If there's anything you've always wanted to do at the mall, like, fuck it, man. Like, if you want to recreate scenes from the movie, like I had that dream a couple months ago, because I've always been a little bit more timid about, like, I don't want to be like running around the mall acting like a goof and really going overboard. Like maybe I'll do like, the zombie the sweater zombie up the escalator thing or something like that. Um, but I don't want to be like overly like getting in people's way or anything like that. But I had a dream where I was just like, in my dream, I was just like, fuck it, I'm here. I'm gonna do everything I wanted to do. And I just started recreating fucking whole scenes from the movie and just running up and down through the mall. And it's like, what are they gonna do? Kick me out and tell me never come back? It's like, it's like, okay. And I said that about the roof too. I'm gonna get a fucking ladder and climb up on that roof. And what's the worst that can happen? Spend the night in jail and get banned from the mall. I was like, all right, well, it's worth it. Larry says I work for the museum and spent a lot of time in the malls over the years. The back areas I speak of are not accessible to people really. Yeah. Bits and pieces of it are on your tour, but yeah, there's tons back there. It's like little, I don't know what you'd call it, but just like little tunnel ways and passageways through the backs of the stores and stuff. But the great thing about this, like, it hasn't been repainted or redone, so all of that looks exactly the same as it does in the movie and stuff. So you really feel like you're there. Chin says, "I've seen those pictures on Facebook where Kun was sitting by himself, just soaking in a moment." Yeah, yeah, it was pretty cool. And I think just following that with the speech and stuff that he gave before the screening and everything, which I talked about, my feelings on the screening and everything, and then what a compelling moment it was for me, just sitting there in the theater in the mall from Dawn of the Dead, watching Dawn of the Dead. It's like a dream come true. It's like when I was a kid. It's like I just felt like a kid again. But just having Ken open the screening with his speech and what he said, and it was just like, it didn't get any better, man. It didn't get any better. And everybody that was there for it agreed. Like, everybody there was just like, yeah, that was a real powerful moment. It really came through. Um, yeah, I agree, Jen. The people in Monroeville are very. I've never had a bad experience with people in Pittsburgh in general, even like downtown Pittsburgh, Evans City. They're all super, super nice in Evans City. Like, I've never had a bad experience with people in the Pittsburgh area. Like, I've had bad experiences with people in Chicago, Nashville. Usually you'll meet some people that are just like, outsiders. But the people in Pittsburgh are just like down to earth, salt of the earth people, man. They're just, for the most part, super down to earth, cool people that are just there. They're happy that it's the beautiful thing about Pittsburgh is it's a big city, but it also feels very local. Like, there's still a lot of local charm and a lot of pride that the people take, and they're Iron City beer, or their local stuff, like they're Pittsburgh Steelers, man. Everybody's a Steelers fan. Like, you don't meet anybody in Pittsburgh that hates the Steelers. Like, it's just not a thing. Like, everything's still, it's a prideful community of people that love their city and um, love their history and stuff like that. You don't get that in a lot of cities like that. And like I said, I've just never anybody ever meet in Pittsburgh. It's like you tell them you're from out of town. I love Pittsburgh. I love being here, and they're like, oh wow, well, come on. It's like a perfect example when me and Will went to Mars to visit that bowling alley where they shut Kingpin. It's like, in my mind, usually you do these things and the people that run the bowling alley will say, oh yeah, take pictures from outside, but don't get too close. These people were just like, oh no, come on in. Like, the bowling alley was closed. Like, nobody was there. Like, it was shut down for the season. They just happened to be there, and they were just like, oh no, come on in. Opened the doors for us, took us around, toured the bowling alley, pulled out a picture book, and was showing us all these pictures of them with Bill Murray and Woody Harrelson, and telling stories about what it was like when they were there filming and everything, and all the memorabilia that they had, the history of the bowling alley. Like, they were so proud of just this one little moment in time where that was their thing. And it was so cool. And you have so many experiences like that, especially when you're going to locations and stuff like that and meeting these people. It's like you have this idea in their mind that they're going to look at you and think of you as like this complete weirdo, and they're just like, oh, what are you doing here? Go away. But unless it's like the house from Night 90 or something like that, most of the time you're going to get like an LMA Smith or something like that. That's just there and happy to talk about this stuff, because they're not Hollywood. Like, you try to do this shit in Hollywood, it's just like, oh God, more tourists, go away, But for them, it's just like, oh yeah, this was like this wonderful memory that I had back in the day that these people want to know about, and I love talking about it. Um, so yeah, while I say, visit locations, be respectful, be aware that people do live there, work there, whatnot. I mean, the 247, how we got on the roof of 247, like the people, um, that we were that Matt was in contact with, that like the coolest people, and just like so intrigued, and so like, oh, that's so cool that you guys are so into this stuff, and like, to them it's just the fucking rooftop of where they work. It's just like, it's just a roof. But to us, they were genuinely curious and genuinely fascinated that we were so into this stuff, and they were so just so welcoming and so kind. Um, that's honestly some of my favorite stories of visiting locations, is running across somebody who doesn't know why I'm there, taking, like, why are you taking, video and pictures of this old, like the sky bus look like next to a dog park. Like, nobody knows what the hell the history is to that. In terms of Romero, there's always vanilla and stuff like that. But like, if somebody stops you and asks you about it, they're genuinely like, oh, that's really cool, I had no idea. And you can show them, like, uh pull it up on your phone and be like, "Oh, this is where they shot this scene in this movie," and they're just like, "Oh, that's so cool," and they're genuinely curious and proud of, I don't know. That's a little diatribe I love Pittsburgh. I love the area, and if you guys are going to Living Dead Weekend this year for the first time, or in the area for the first time, um, I hope you have the same experiences. And like I said, if you go to visit some of these locations, like, don't be afraid to, to talk to some people. And if somebody asks questions, and most people are genuinely curious because they've heard of this stuff probably growing up, but they don't really know. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yes, the people in Monroeville are very, very nice. Long way around. That's what I'm trying to say. Um, Hey, Brett, what's going on, man? 1911 Guitar Dude. I was talking about you earlier, my man. Checking in late. We'll check out the replay. Go Green Bay. Hell yeah. My family's favorite team. Hell yeah, man. We're in the playoffs. 7 seed. I don't know if we'll do much or what's going to come of that, but hey, we're in the dance, and we get Chicago first. So I think we can beat the Bears if nothing else. If we can't, it's gonna be a rough weekend next weekend. I'll just say that. But good to see you, man. Hope you and your family are doing good. Um, if you make it to back to Pittsburgh for Living Dead Weekend again, man, in June, let me know, and look forward to seeing you guys again. Um, yeah, man, the fan of the Dead documentary, definitely check it out. It was on DVD years ago. It's probably pretty hard to find now because it was like a limited little release. But like I said, I'm pretty sure I've seen it on YouTube before. So check. I would just type in like "Fan of the Dead," "Dawn of the Dead" documentary, something like that, and it should pop up. But it's pretty interesting. It's like I said, it's a nice little time capsule of, you know the mall and Dawn fandom. Like, because here's this guy from another country that's coming over and wanting to visit all these locations and see all this stuff for the first time, and he goes and visits, the basement in 247 Fort Pitt Boulevard where they shot Night of the Living Dead. He actually gets down to the house from Night 90 and actually is able to walk around the house and stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a fun little documentary, man. It really takes you back. It really takes you back to that time period. And it makes me think, like, God, I wish I would have been there for some of that stuff, but I was still just a little too young and a little too scared to venture too far outside of my local area. It's like I said, to me, Pittsburgh growing up, Pittsburgh was like another fucking universe away. I was like, I'll never get there. And then I did, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can come back whenever. Um, I just want to stand outside the just want to stand outside in the middle of the night at the entrance where the bikers enter, just to take those creepy vibes alone in front of the mall. But yeah, man, you can do it. Definitely do it. I'll say, like, because they used to have the DoubleTree, which used to be open when we first started going. We'd stay at the DoubleTree, and if you were lucky enough, you'd get a room facing the mall. So the first time we were there, we had a room facing the mall. So you could open your curtain, you're up there in your room, and your view is the mall. And I was like, oh, what a beautiful view. But it was so cool because at night, that hill that the bikers come down when they're coming into the mall, you can see, like, you remember from the movie when Peter and Roger are standing on top of the mall with the binoculars, and he's like, just 3, huh? holy shit. And you see that long shot from a distance, and you see the headlights from the motorcycles and stuff coming down that hill. In that hotel room, I'm sitting there, I'm looking out at the mall, and I start seeing it at nighttime. You can start seeing the headlights of cars coming down that hill. And I immediately flashed back to that scene. I was like, wow, that's so fucking cool. Like, just little stuff like that. It's just like, oh, like, there it is. Like, takes you right back to the movie. Chin says the night we seen Night of the Living Dead in the theater after we watched Night of the Flesh Eaters. I waited outside for my Uber for like 30 minutes, completely alone at like 1 a.m. Such a vibe. Yeah. It was pretty cool. At one of the screenings one year, I was able, because that's when Jeff, one of the guys working security at the time, a huge Dawn of the Dead fan, he was working security for that event. And as we were leaving the screening or whatnot, I parked at the other end of the mall, and the mall was closed and dark and all that. And and I was like, well, I got to go down that way, man, to get to my car. Is it cool if I just kind of walk through the mall to get there? And he was just like, oh yeah, go ahead. And so like I'm just walking through the dark, empty mall. There's still a little bit of music playing over, and it's just completely empty and quiet. And I was just like, it's just a surreal moment. I was like, wow, this dreams come true here. Yeah, totally incredible vibe. And Chin says, oh yeah, all my Uber drivers were locals. They would tell me their stories about how the mall was just a local spot for them to shop. Most of the drivers never even seen Dawn. Yeah, it was funny when you're in the mall and you see some of the shoppers and stuff walking around there, and they're just confused, curious about what's going on, with Living Dead weekend and everything. And I've had experiences where you tell them, you're like, oh, this is where they shot, Dawn of the Dead years ago, like one of the biggest horror movies ever made. And they were just like, really? And you can kind of pull it up on your phone, and you're like, wow, this is pretty crazy. One of the funniest things I remember was, I think it was 2021 when they had the Return of the Living Dead reunion at the mall, and Miguel Nunez was there. And I remember walking by one of the shoppers as they were walking by, and they were just kind of looking around because everything's in the storefronts, and they're just kind of looking around in the storefront. And one it was a black lady with her family there, and she was just looking, and she sees Miguel Nunez sitting at one of the tables, and she starts freaking out. She's like, "It's Joanna Man!" I started giggling. I started laughing. She was like, "Oh man, I gotta go in there and get his autograph. I gotta go get his autograph." I was like, "That's so funny." But yeah, it's like most of these people don't know the history of the mall, and to them, it's just the mall that they grew up with because they grew up in the area. But yeah, but that's also kind of the beautiful thing about it. It's not like it's like we were saying when we had that conversation. One of the round tables recently was like Dawn of the Dead's always kind of felt like my little secret that I like to keep in my back pocket. And when you find other people that have that little secret too, it's like you're immediately like, oh, you're my best friend now. Like, oh, we're friends. Like, that's it. Like, we're cool. Like, there's no beef here. Like, I don't care what you've done, and I don't care what else you're into or whatever. But if you're into Dawn of the Dead, if you're into Romero, it's like we're instantly friends. So yeah, it was just a funny story that popped in my head when you mentioned that, like, some of the locals not really knowing the history of the mall and all that. It's just the lady freaking out because Joanna Man sitting in there at the table. And since I actually want to move to Pittsburgh, me too, man. Me too. I want to get out of California. The prices and politics are unbearable. Oh yeah, I can't. My buddy Seth lives out there, and he, I don't know how he does it, but yeah, I couldn't. But yeah, that's my dream retirement. Like, I'd love to just get a little house out in the country somewhere, out in West Pennsylvania, somewhere close to maybe Evans City or something like that, and just retire sitting on a rocking chair. Like, and it's like the movies. My love of the films, the love of Romero and all that, like, definitely inspired me to visit this area for the first time. And I always felt like I kind of knew the area because I knew the movies so well. And that's the beautiful thing about those movies. It's like, Willard, Evans City, Butler, all these places because they're incorporated in all of George's films. But once you're there and you kind of get the vibe, and you meet some of the people, and it's like I said, I've been to some bars in Pittsburgh. You never meet. At least I've never met like somebody who's just like a complete asshole at a bar. Even they're just so friendly and welcoming, and I don't know. There's just a vibe and a feel to it. It's like I said, it's a bigger city. It's a major like metropolitan area, but it also just still has that like small town vibe, that small town feel, where everybody's proud of it, and there's that local pride, you know. Um, so yeah, I mean that's my dream one day. My dream is to one day buy the house from Martin, not the Booba house, but the I like Braddock, all right, but I don't think I want to move there or anything. But the house that the where he chases the couple around the house. That house. I love that house so much. That's my dream house. My dream is to buy that house one day and move there and live out the rest of my days and just be happy. Because Stephen, to quote the great Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, the great Michael Rooker, fuck the Bears. You got us last. Hey, we're even, man. It's the rubber match. We're 1-1, and I will say you guys have impressed me this year, man. Y'all, you got a pretty good team. You got a tough team. You run the football. You play good defense. You get turnovers, and Caleb Williams has been pretty impressive this year, I got to say. But to me, it feels like both teams, like, because the Bears have lost 2 in a row at this point, I think, too. So to me, it just feels like both of us are kind of on a skid, because the Packers, ever since Micah Parsons got hurt, it's just kind of been like everything's hasn't been the same. But we'll see, man. We'll see. One of us will be back next weekend, fucking boasting for sure. But we'll see. Chin says, "Oh yeah, I walked up that hill. That was the steepest hill I ever walked up, and I used to live in San Francisco. Yeah, it is a pretty fucking steep hill, man." Todd says, "Do you know what the screening will be this year?" I don't. Larry chiming in a little bit. Larry says, "I do not know what the screening will be, if any. It's always fun to have them. We should know something no matter what, or we should show something no matter what." Yeah, I mean, you would think like the Dawn screening would make sense again, but from my understanding, just from what I've heard from Larry and what Kevin's put out there publicly at the last screening of Dawn back in October, was Rubenstein's pretty strict on how often he will let Dawn of the Dead be shown somewhere, and it's usually like a couple of years in between. So I'm pretty sure, unless something really changes and Rubenstein really kind of turns an about face, like I don't see a Dawn screening. But that would make total sense. Although, it would be cool. I don't know how this would work, Larry, but it would be cool if we could get a screening of the Argento cut, if nothing else. You think? Because Rubenstein doesn't own the rights to the Argento cut. And that would be an interesting one, because I know there's a lot of people that haven't seen the Argento cut. So that would be cool. And it'd be a perfect reason, perfect excuse to try to get Dario to come. Just saying. But Larry's got some pretty cool Dawn footage we could have a screening of, if you want. My buddy Will Welfley, I know he mentioned he's got a 16 millimeter version of Dawn of the Dead that he was talking to me. He was wanting to have a screening of. We'll fucking figure out our own thing. If we can't screen Dawn officially, we'll go out behind a hotel or something somewhere and project that 16 millimeter print that Will has. Chin says, "I hope they screen Dawn. I would love to see it at the mall since I missed it in October." Yeah, it's a pretty surreal moment, man. I'd love everybody to be able to get that experience. Robert says, "I wonder how many locals who are fans will take a few minutes to drive there and go home every night. They are very fortunate." I know a few of them. My buddy Brian, he's local. And he comes by. My buddy Ben Gebhardt. He's not local. I mean, I think he's like a couple hours away, but he still kind of makes the trip up early Saturday morning, kind of leaves Saturday night. So there are some locals that do get the opportunity to kind of come and go home and come back the next day if they want to. But yeah, that would be that'd be pretty sweet. That'd be the idea. Chin says Evans City. We could make Evans City on freaking fumes. That's a Will Phelps quote. Every time we're riding in the car together and we see a sign for Evans City, it's always Evans City. We could make Evans City on freaking fumes. 5 miles. Seriously? Chin said, I love how Romero kept everything local to Pittsburgh for his movies. Yeah. And he could have easily just filmed in Pittsburgh, but set it in, it's actually Cleveland or something. But no, I think that's, I don't know. I'm glad that he did, man, because it just wouldn't be the same. Wouldn't be the same. I don't know how to explain it, but if his films were shot in Pittsburgh but set somewhere else, and the names of the towns were completely made up, and the name of the locations were completely made up, it would be cool to visit, but it wouldn't be the same as first pulling in, coming out of Fort Pitt Tunnel and seeing the sign for Monroeville this way. I remember seeing that sign and fucking tearing up the first time I visited Pittsburgh, just for no other reason, because that's the spot. I don't know. I kind of felt like that's what he kind of did with Land of the Dead, where the city itself is Pittsburgh without saying it's Pittsburgh. Brett saying, man, we're glad we went to Living Dead Weekend 2025. Love meeting you there. Life threw us a curveball. My wife's surviving a very serious medical. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. And likely won't be recovered enough to make it this year. Oh, shit, man. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope she's doing okay. Man, I hate that. Hate to hear that. Give her my best wishes, man. Hope she recovers and is getting better. I think I talked to her more than I talked to you. We were on that tour, because I think you were going around at one point. Getting autographs and stuff in the main hall, and I think I just stood there and talked to her for 15, 20 minutes, as you were going around doing your thing. Yeah, man, I hate to hear that, man. Give her my best wishes. Hope she makes full recovery. Yeah, that sucks, man. I'll be thinking of you. Steven says, I have faith in you, Alpha. You'll find one asshole in Pittsburgh. He'll probably be a Packers fan. That's probably true. Yeah, that's probably true. Not saying that there aren't assholes that exist in Pittsburgh, but maybe I'm blinded because when I'm there, I'm just like, everything's great. Everything's wonderful and everybody's so nice. But yeah, I don't know, man. Just from my experiences, it's pretty cool people. Pretty cool people. Chin says, Packers fan in Pittsburgh would be hilarious. I've met him. I ran into him because the weekend in October that we were there back in October was that same weekend the Packers were in town to play the Steelers, and I ran into quite a few Packers fans while I was in Pittsburgh. So, hey, we're everywhere. We're everywhere. It's someone call Italy. Dario's cut is actually a good idea. I'm telling you, man, that would make sense. Well, it's not everybody's favorite. It would be kind of a workaround to the whole Rubenstein thing. At the same time, there's a lot of people that have never seen it, so I think that'd be a fun screening, actually. Todd says, I want to check out Gettysburg too. I think Knight Riders had some shots there. Yeah, that's right. I think Larry was just there not too long ago, finding those spots from Knight Riders around the Gettysburg area. Which is weird. It makes no sense. There has to be some kind of story to that, because 98% of Knight Riders was filmed in Western Pennsylvania, and then for some reason they shot a few shots out in Eastern Pennsylvania. So I want to know the story behind it. There's got to be something behind that, somebody lived out there or something. I don't know, but yeah, that's right. I think the actual shot from Gettysburg with the cannon and stuff that you can see in Knight Riders, I think all that's still there. So it's pretty easy to match up. Steven says, if Dario can't come, Ozzy would be a fine replacement. I agree with that. Quite frankly, I'd rather watch Ozzy come before Dario. Well, the way that you worded that, I would agree. I would rather watch Ozzy come before Dario. I will agree with that. But if we're still talking about convention guests, like Dario is like one of like my like I would pay any price just to meet him, have him sign one thing, fucking take my money, like just to shake his hand. Because to me, Dario is like top, top of the fucking mountaintop for me. Like it's for me, my personal favorite filmmakers. Of course, George is number one. Dario is right there behind him. It's him and Kubrick. Um, yeah, that's one. And I think if Living Dead Weekend got a Dario Argento to make even just like a 1 day appearance, Saturday only, Dario Argento will be at the Monroeville Mall. Dude, that's gonna pay for itself and then some. You could buy the fucking mall off the money that would make. Like, because Dario doesn't do a whole lot of appearances at conventions in the States anyway. Like he still does a few overseas, I think, but like for Living Dead Weekend to get somebody like that, like forget about it. Like you could retire. You could retire because people will be coming for that because it's Dario in the mall for the movie that does not happen without him. Like Dawn of the Dead does not happen without Dario Argento. At least the Dawn of the Dead that we know and love does not happen without Dario Argento. So for that moment to see him, meet him in the mall, like forget about it. Name your price. I will pay it. Like name your price. Larry says I sent a message to Ozzy Argento on Insta to invite her and her father to Living Dead Weekend and asked how to contact him, but got no response yet. That would be great. I'd love to meet Ozzy too, man. Ozzy was one of my crushes when I was younger because she was like the horror, the princess of horror. Like, that's Dario's daughter. Yeah, that would be great. That'd be great. But hey, we can wish, can't we? We can wish. Chin says if I was a Pittsburgh local, I would car camp in the mall parking lot at least once a week. Somebody, I think it was Matt, maybe floated the idea instead of just getting a hotel room for Living Dead Weekend, just getting like an RV or Winnebago or something and just parking it in the parking lot and staying there all weekend. It's like, that's a beautiful idea. Let's do it. Yeah, listening to the Goblin soundtrack all night. Hell yeah. Maybe Matt wouldn't do that, but I certainly would, and Paul would too. My God. Todd says Bruiser screening would be fun. I love that movie. Peter Stormare's funny as hell in it. Yeah, oh dude, I love Bruiser. I'm one of the biggest Bruiser apologists out there. I don't know how popular that would be with most people because Bruiser's still one of those movies that a lot of people just either don't get or really haven't given a fair shake to because it was. But fuck yeah, man! My goal in life is to see every Romero film on the big screen at least once in some form or fashion. So yeah, I'd be totally down for that. But I don't know how big of a draw that would be for for most of the casual convention goers, I guess. Steven says, yeah, Brad. Hope everything works out for sure, man, for sure. Fabian, what's going on? Fabian says, have you ever seen Dance of the Dead? I got a few of my friends to watch it. They all love it. It's from 2008. It's a John Hughes mix with a bit of Romero. It's great. It's on Tubi. I own the DVD. I've heard of that. I've never seen it, but I have heard of that. Now, there was also a Dance of the Dead that came out close to around that same time that was also part of the Masters of Horror series. I'm trying to remember who fucking directed it. Was that a Toby Hooper that did that one? I can't remember. But is that the same one that you're talking about, or is it something completely different? Because I've never seen it. I've heard that name before. And when I think of Dance of the Dead, I'm thinking of that Masters of Horror episode. I think that's what it was called, Dance of the Dead. I'm trying to think. I want to say, was it Toby Hooper that directed that one? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Dance from 2008. Yeah, I've never seen that one. Larry says, I found the Night Riders Gettysburg spots in 2019, took photos, etc. There you go. There you go. Again, there's got to be a story there that I'm super curious to find out about, like how they ended up on that side of Pennsylvania just for those couple of shots in the film. It says Ozzy might bring you some unwanted negative press if you have followed her situation. Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think most people know or care about that whole thing at this point. I don't honestly, but again, like if you're going through life worrying about what, negative press and all that shit. I mean, I guess if you're running a business and you're trying to run a successful convention, I guess you do have to kind of think about those sort of things, but yeah, whatever. Okay, so Brett's saying, yeah, my wife is like my PR department. She's the best. She was super cool. She loved all the combos with you while I was in the alternate reality out of my mind meeting the daycast. Yeah. I don't blame you, man. Like I remember we were standing there talking, you were just kind of going from table to table. You're going like Howard Sherman to Lori to Terry, and you just had this big ass grin on your face the whole time. I was like, oh yeah, just let him do his thing, man. Let him live it. Let him live it. It's good to have support like that though, because she was totally happy for you. Or it says, to meet Dario Argento, you would have to get in line when the mall first opens, and you might reach him by the time of the day. That's true. That'd be the most traffic that mall has seen in decades, probably. Be wrapped all around the mall and back, but hey, whatever, man. I'll wait any amount of time, any amount of money, just to say I met the maestro himself, because love me some Dario. Todd says Gary Busey's on my bucket list. If he still did cons, I'd even let him go up. You wouldn't have to let him. He'd probably just do it, my man. So, Brett saying she's doing better. Should be home soon after a 3-month ICU hospital stay. That breaks my heart, man. I hate to hear that. She says hi to you. Tell her I said hi. Tell her I said hi and hope she kicks this thing in the ass and kicks out. She still has a long recovery road ahead of her, and appreciate the thoughts and prayers. Absolutely, man. Definitely be thinking of you guys. Yeah. Hopefully things work out and she gets better, because that breaks my heart to hear, man. But she'll bounce back. I could tell just by talking to her. She's tough. She's gonna come back from it. So, but yeah, I'll definitely be thinking of you guys for sure. Oh, Robert, you like Bruiser? Okay. I know you're not a big fan of Martin. So to me, like Bruiser and Martin are kind of very similar in a way in terms of where they came in George's career and all that. But all right. Got another Bruiser fan in here. I'm cool with that. It's saying, yeah, Toby, November 2005. There you go. I have my tape of that too. Yeah, I remember when those were first airing. I don't have all of them, but I have quite a few of them on DVD over here when they released them all on DVD. Yeah, I thought that was Toby Hooper, Dance of the Dead. So yeah, I'm glad to be vindicated. I know what I'm talking about. Yes. Thank you. I'm smart. Yeah, you do, man. You got to give Martin another chance. You got to do it. You got to do it, man. You got to do it. It was George's favorite film that he ever made. And again, it's one of those movies. It's like not everybody's going to love, not everybody's going to get. And I totally get it. And I've always said that. you're either going to love it, hate it, or you're not going to get it. And it's not like, oh, you don't get it because you're not smart or whatever, but it's definitely an acquired taste that some people are going to dig, some people aren't. And I don't judge either way. Like some movies, I'm like that. It's like if you say like some people are like when they say like, oh, Dawn of the Dead sucks or something like that. I'm like, I really got to question your taste in movies, sir. But something like Martin, yeah, it's definitely something different, out of the ordinary for sure. Chintz, you've never seen Bruiser? Yeah, man, you gotta check it out. They got now I don't know if they're going to do a release. I'm guessing that they eventually will at some point, which I've heard from different sources that it's being worked on and has been in the works for quite some time. Um, if I can get the slip out here, there we go. But Indicator actually overseas, I think it's over in the UK, just put out a really good 4K release of Bruiser. It's a film George made in 2000. Very little fanfare, didn't really go too far, wasn't a major success for George, but it's a film that I feel like was very personal to George. You can definitely see a lot of George's anger and frustration that he had at that time trying to go through the Hollywood system and being constantly rejected, and a lot of the the issues that he was dealing with in his life at the time. You can definitely see, I mean, this is definitely George's most angry, like his angriest film for sure. um it's a bit of like a revenge flick a little bit. It's got, to me, it's got the vibe of like a Falling Down with Michael Douglas, if you've ever seen that. It's got that vibe to it a little bit. um but I've been a big fan of it ever since I first saw it. I definitely recommend checking it out. Bruiser, like I said, there's this Indicator release that came out over in the UK last year, early last year, I believe. But there's also some Blu-ray. You asked for it. I'm gonna start pulling them all out here. There was a French Blu-ray that came out a couple of years ago. Looks pretty good, pretty cool. And of course, in the States, the only thing we still, the only thing we got is the original DVD of Bruiser from back in the day. So hopefully there will be a new release of Bruiser coming soon. Like I said, I've heard through the grapevine that that it's been worked on. It's in the works. It's in the planning stages. And I heard this a couple of years ago, so I don't know where that stands as of now. But I would think with the UK and Indicator doing a new 4K restoration of it, I would think that that an American restoration would not be far behind. I mean, it's definitely one of those titles that definitely could use it and could definitely needs it, because I think a lot of people have never really discovered that movie, or if they have, they just watched it once back when it came out. And it's so different than a lot of the other stuff that George did, that I think a lot of people weren't really vibing with it at first. But I think it's one of those movies that really grows on you the more, the older you get, the more you go back and really watch it. And I think it definitely needs a rediscovery in the U.S., in my opinion. But I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big champion of it. There you go. Ed's in the Bruiser fan club. That's right. That's right. We're growing. We're slowly growing the fan club, I think. Yeah, man, definitely. Chin says, "Oh yeah, seen Falling Down. That was great." Yeah, it's very much in that vibe. It's like if Romero did, um, took Falling Down and kind of blended it with some of the more like revenge-o-matic type films from the 70s, like Death Wish, or Rolling Thunder, which I just recently saw and loved. Um, yeah, it's a revenge flick, but it's also about this character's frustration with everything in his life. And it's definitely like the main character. If you think about what George was going through at the time, and where his life was and his career was at the time, you can definitely feel a lot of that anger and frustration that George was feeling in his personal life coming out in this character in this film. So highly recommend checking it out. Robert saying Bruiser and Dark Half are basically Romero's versions of a slasher film. I like them both. Yeah. And I think that was the thing that kind of turned people off to Bruiser initially. Because people were, I remember when I first saw it, I was expecting kind of like your typical slasher film, because you look at the cover of this thing and it looks like, a fucking slasher movie. But it's not really a slasher movie. In the ways of like he's going around, knifing up people or something like that. So I think when people first saw it, they didn't quite get what the hell it was supposed to be, and it wasn't really promoted and really didn't have a lot of fanfare behind it. Yeah, I've always liked a lot of the cover arts that Bruiser always had. This is the French from the French poster, I believe is where this one came from. I really love this one, which this is the French Blu-ray release, but I really love the blue and the artwork on this release. The disc is all falling out of this fucking thing at this point, but but yeah, and it has a very American Psycho vibe to it too. I've always thought. Come on, get back in there, you fucker. All right, we'll leave it at that. Todd says keep that DVD. It has the Misfits music video on it, directed by George. That's true. I think it's is the video. So that just has a commentary. Yeah, I think this is the. Of course, there's an actual VHS release of that Misfits video on it as well. But yes, this also does have not only the commentary with George and Peter Grunwald, but it also has the Misfits video for Scream that George directed, because the Misfits make a cameo appearance at the end of the film. So if you're a punk rock fan, Misfits fan, definitely want to check it out for nothing else, if just for that. This is pissing me off because this damn disc keeps falling out. Hate when that happens, man. Hate it. All right, pop in there, stay in there. All right, there we go. Robert says any release of Romero's movies on 4K is a day one buy for me. Yeah, that's something we didn't touch on too. Which are already past 3 hours, so I'm gonna try to get out of here fairly quickly. Although I'm sure I'll be up for another few hours with the baby, I'm sure. So I can let Mama sleep for a while. But that's another thing we didn't touch on in 2026 to look forward to: the Day of the Dead Scream Factory 4K. That'll be coming out. I'm fairly certain 2026. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but yeah, it's 2026 Day of the Dead Scream Factory, and I'm thinking I'm guessing. I don't know for sure. There's no official announcement or anything like that. But from everything I've heard, Second Sight over in the UK actually has the rights to Day of the Dead to do the 4K restoration of Day of the Dead over there. So I'm thinking maybe, if nothing else, late 2026, 2027, maybe we'll get a Second Sight release of Day of the Dead. And if they do a bang up job like they did on the Day of the Dead box set or the Martin box set, fucking, go ahead and put me down for a day one purchase on that. But I'm sure I'll be getting both of them. But I'm just kind of like the Scream Factory thing. I know their Scream Factory's kind of been up in the air, and I don't know what their future holds. And I hope that they do something a little different, do something a little somewhat special with this Day of the Dead restoration, and the release in itself. Because a lot of the times, Scream Factory, what they'll do is they'll take a 4K release of a movie and just kind of port over a lot of the the bonus features and stuff from the Blu-ray release and just kind of throw it out there and charge you $40 for it, which if that's the case, like, yeah, I'm still going to buy it, of course, but I would love something new, something different, some maybe a new commentary or something. I'd love a commentary with, I'm sure you can do it. A commentary with Laurie, Terry, and Jarlath. Like I said, that whole crew is still pretty close. Go ahead and bring in Amplis for it as well. Like, we have the commentary with George and Laurie. And who else was on that commentary? George, Laurie, Tom, and Cletus Anderson. We have that commentary. We have the commentary from overseas in the Arrow release with Nicotero and Howard Berger. We have the commentary with Roger Avery, which is one of my favorite commentaries of any George film, just because it's cool listening to another filmmaker talk about George's influence and all that. But I'd love to just get like a cast commentary from all the the surviving members of the cast: Laurie, Terry, Jarlath, Amplis, Howard Sherman. Get them all together for a big commentary. I think that'd be great. But again, like with Second Sight, it just seems like most of the time they just kind of port over a lot of the stuff that they've already released onto their 4K releases and then just say, hey, there you go, there's the 4K. So maybe they'll do something different with this one. Maybe make it a little bit more special than what they do normally. But we'll see. We'll see. Steven says, let's hope so. Kino or Shout? Are you talking about Bruiser? A Bruiser release in the US? It's neither. The label that I'm not gonna say it, but I will just say this: that in the United States, Bruiser is owned by Lionsgate. So Lionsgate actually owns the rights to Bruiser in the US. So I'll just say that. So do with that what you will. But it's not Kino and it's not Shout, as far as I know, unless they've changed plans or sold it off to somebody. But from what I've heard, Lionsgate owns the rights. We'll say that. Um, it's saying Peter Stormare being a bigger movie star now would help the sales of Bruiser Blu-ray. I know people to watch it just to see him. Yeah, and I love Peter Stormare and Bruiser. I fucking love it. I know. Landrum will forever die on the hill that he's overacting and horrible in it, but I love him. I love Peter Stormare and Bruiser the same way I love Joe Pilato in Day of the Dead. I think both of them are over the top and just took the words on George's screenplay and just took it off in a completely different area. But I fucking love what they did with it, and I'm totally down for it. Um, yeah, a little bit, Chiz, like a revenge kind of slasher story. Yeah, it's interesting. I dig it. It's got the soundtrack from Donald Rubinstein. Of course, George worked with on Night Riders, Martin. It's a $5 million budget. It's the first film he made in Toronto, so it's his first venture into working up in Canada. But it's indie George. It's George's story. It's George's screenplay. It's probably the most George film that we got after Day of the Dead, really. Because when you think Monkey Shines was an adaptation, Two Evil Eyes was an adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe, Stephen King's Dark Half, of course, and then he did Bruiser, which is 100% George. So I think, that's my thoughts on it. So if you like George, I think you'll like Bruiser. Scream was the song, the Misfits song from the album Famous Monsters. He did the video for that, and that's available on YouTube as well if you want to check that out. Just Misfits Scream video, and the video was directed by Romero. And it's funny you say that, Ed. I'm actually a bigger fan of the Misfits without Glenn Danzig than I am with Glenn Danzig, which is very unpopular in some circles. But I'm definitely more of a fan of the Michael Graves era Misfits than I am the Danzig era Misfits. So come at me, y'all. Damn, everyone hates Glenn. I don't hate him. I don't hate the Danzig Misfits stuff. I just prefer the sound that they had cultivated by the 90s with, Michael Graves and I don't know. I've just always preferred that for my taste. Bronson in a zombie movie. You've risen from the grave while you're going back there. That'd have been fun. That'd have been a zombie movie I would have liked to have seen. Yeah, no mother hate, but I like Danzig. I like Danzig all right. I just prefer the Misfits without him, that's all. Robert saying a 4K release of Bruiser from Lionsgate Limited would be cool. Could be. We'll see. Yeah, Larry, we just talked about that. Brought it up. Like I said, over in the UK, you can still get the 4K from Indicator, which is a 4K, so it still works. You don't need a region-free player over here to watch it, and it's a really good release. There's a lot of bonus features, and the restoration stuff looks fantastic as well. So, but as in terms of a US release, like I said, I've heard some rumblings, I've heard some things from certain people, but yeah, nothing's really come out for sure about it. But I think it definitely needs one. I just think, like, I don't know. I guess if people are that hell bent on watching, Bruiser, I'm pretty sure if you're a physical media collector, you probably they probably already gotten the Indicator release. But I just think, like, if somebody like, I don't know, Vestron or somebody like that would do it, I think it'd be a little bit more of a popular seller in the US as opposed to the overseas stuff. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. Got everybody going back and forth on Danzig now. I actually like Danzig. He just gets a lot of hate, especially in Philly. It's very good. My favorite story about Glenn Danzig, there was a it's not even a story. I don't know, like it says. My favorite quote or thought about Glenn Danzig or memory of Glenn Danzig, there was a website back in the day. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Plastercaster, who was like this groupie back in the day who would sleep with all of the rock stars and musicians and stuff, but then she would make a plaster cast of their penises. Well, there was a website back in the day. I can't remember the name of the woman or what the website was called, but there was a website back in the day where you could go, and it was this groupie who had slept with all of these rock stars and all of these musicians throughout the years. And on this website, she would have like a little write up about what all their penises were like. So, and she, it would be like Eddie Van Halen, long and veiny or whatever, whatever. But she gets to Glenn Danzig, and she writes, Glenn Danzig's penis is exactly like Glenn Danzig, short and stubby. It's like, so anytime I think of Glenn Danzig, that's the first fucking thing that pops into my head was that little write up. Short and stubby. Okay. Anyway, I digress. It goes with that. Whatever. Yeah, I agree. That's my thoughts on it. Graves had a much better palette of songs. Danzig had some pretty good hits. Yeah. Man, Static Age it's hard to beat in terms of Danzig's era of the Misfits. But man, Famous Monsters, Project 1950, some of that's my favorite era of fucking Misfits for sure. Exactly, Chance. Exactly. All right, guys. 3 hours in, past 3 hours at this point. It's been fun. Glad to be back. New year, same old me, same old shit. But we're gonna have some pretty cool guests. Like I said, like I announced earlier, 24th of this month, we'll be talking Romero with the great Norman England, all the way from Japan. He's going to be joining us in one of the OGs of Romero fandom. I can't wait to talk to him. Learned a lot of what I know from him, from his websites and all the work and stuff that he's put in and done over the years. Can't wait for that. And then the following weekend, January 31st, is the return of Collecting the Dead. And this time, we're bringing in the heavy hitters. We're bringing in Mr. Matt Blasey himself from over in the Garf Network. You guys probably have seen him and Eric over there if you were fans back in the day of WGON radio. Yeah, just done so much over the years for the Romero universe, and has collected so much stuff from over there. If you're a fan of Bruiser, you don't want to miss this one because there's no bigger fan of Bruiser than Matt Blasey. So we're gonna have him on the 31st for Collecting the Dead. Romero Fan Roundtable next weekend, halfway to Living Dead Weekend Edition. Anybody wants to join, come on, shoot me a message, email, let me know. Everybody is more than welcome to join. It's just a hang sesh. It's just a party. So join us next week for that. That should be a lot of fun. And yeah, like I said, it's gonna be a fun year. 2025. There's some rough news, bad things, but to me, that's every year. But sometimes you just gotta try to tune out the bad and focus on the good things that take place and try to dwell in on that more so than the bad stuff. But so let's hope for a great 2026, guys. Should be a fun one. So look forward to seeing you all on the next one. Like I said, roundtable next weekend. Steven says, yes, I have. I'm a Kiss fan, and they actually made a song about her. You being a Martin fan, I can't say I'm really surprised. Leave Martin out of this, damn it. Leave Martin out of it. Yeah, good to see everybody. Ed, always a pleasure, my man. Good to see you in here. Chance, good to see you again, my man. I look forward to seeing you and coming up in June, Living Dead Weekend. Steven, love you, my man. You always give me shit, but coming from you, it's always welcome. You're a good dude. Great stream as usual. Once again, congratulations on the new Offspring. Thank you very much. Everyone have a great rest of your night. Absolutely. Make sure, give the stream a thumbs up, like the video, subscribe if you're watching for the first time. I've been tinkering around with the shorts format more so here lately. Just as instead of having an actual like full length video on something, just kind of taking the little pieces and chunks of some recent shows and throwing them on the shorts and kind of getting a point across in a fairly quick manner. But also did drop a video the other day, conversation with me and Orion Trips, my boy Evan, talking about Romero and his use of television and the way he uses that to scare the shit out of us. Really cool conversation with him. Look forward to having him on the show again sometime in the near future. So yeah, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Check out shop.alpharomero.store. Yeah, that's all the plugging and bullshit I got going. So, Robert, good to see you again, man. It's good to see you over on the Revival House and seeing you here again tonight. So, hope you're doing well, man. And again, I look forward. I want to see you. We're gonna go knock on the door of the Night 90 house. By God, I'll be right behind you. Don't worry, I'll be right behind you. But yeah, I hope everybody has a good rest of the night, great rest of the weekend. Have a good, safe week. And as always, until then, everybody stay safe, stay prepared, but always stay scared.